Yeah, should be on. Yeah. All right.
Oh, Sid.
All right. We'll just wait for people to drip in, I guess. We'll be starting at 8. I'll just write it on the thing, on the Miro thing.
Yeah.
Unless you want to do the honors. What am I on? 2020. All right, so I'll write it here. Starting at 8 p.m. Cool. Who's Sleepy Pogger? Reminiscent of your
From
name.
someone.
Yeah, no, I
Oh,
think he or she or they is usually in my stream. But it matches well with your name.
that's true.
Hello everyone, welcome, welcome.
Hello.
We'll start formally at 8 and I don't know, English. I think this is the last week of school for these guys, which is nice. Almost the
Yeah, I heard
holidays.
something about because like the primary school kids I was tutoring said that as well. But it's a different story.
Yeah, I mean, year 12 holidays and year 7
It
holidays.
depends
Fun.
on public and private school, I guess.
Really? In terms of what?
When the holidays come.
Oh, possibly. I'm pretty sure this holidays everyone gets 2 weeks though. Hello, Ray and Lim. Pretty sure I've seen you
Hello.
in my streams a lot as well. Welcome, welcome. This is my friend Alex.
Good to be here.
It's the truth.
Oh, I did not mean to do that.
Are you what do you call it? Am I frozen? Oh, I'm frozen. No, I'm not. Oh, I need to go back to the thing to like unfreeze myself. Oh, are we both frozen?
See
Oh no, no,
some.
no. We're fine. We're fine. Hello, Gamma. Hello, Ichen.
Hey,
Ichen's
Chen.
Ichen's the vanguard, as they say.
He's just making sure I'm doing okay.
I mean, sure, if you want to stimulate your brain in 2 different ways, methods and English.
Simulating exams, mate.
Yeah.
Got lit and methods on the same day.
Oh,
Or
did
not.
you? Did you? Was lit in
Used
the
to be.
afternoon?
Lit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Haven't taught EAL ever. Are you frozen?
I'm frozen because I'm not looking at it. I'm back now. It's like it's weird. Am I frozen on Discord? Alex, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, good. Yeah, give some advice to the EAL people.
EAL. I think with what I've seen with EAL, it's just about not being too worried about what the mainstream guys are doing, and basically writing as much as you can, and sort of just doing as much practice with like the English language and rehearsing the actual process of writing the essays first. And then when the exams come, it's really just it's not as much about your actual English ability, but more about like what you've practiced. So I can sort of it's from the top of my head what I've seen from all my friends who did AL.
Also with EAL, I'd say don't be too focused on having like the best vocabulary and like talking about like really um subtle themes, really in depth. Like just try and analyze like the
Yeah,
main ones and do it correctly. And that's really what they're looking for, I feel like. Gamma Thief. Why do all the kids that call themselves lazy? I feel like people just like calling themselves lazy because it's like a what do you call it? It's like a trope. It's like med kids, right? Oh, I'm so lazy, or like I'm so behind on work. People just like saying it. What do you think, Alex?
Like, yeah, like gives you an excuse to do well. It's like when you're lazy, right? If you do bad, it doesn't seem so bad. It's a way of stress coping, I think.
All right, we'll get started. I'll just talk a bit about how this session will run today. So essentially, we will, I don't know, just go through the whole exam in terms of like just the structure of it at the start, like a very brief overview of like what the exam actually looks like on paper. Then we'll be doing text response, argument analysis, and then comparative. So for text response and argument analysis will be looking at 2019, text response and comparative, the 2020 exam, so the one Alex and I actually sat. And we have essays for each of those. So Alex has an essay for argument analysis 2019 and text response 2020. I have an essay for comparative 2020. And these were all practice exam conditions. And so you can kind of see what we wrote, how we wrote it, and we'll talk through that. You happy with that, Alex?
It sounds good.
Yeah. So do you
Fit
want
us
to just
in.
talk about the general appearance of the exam when you see it on the day, like in terms of
Sure.
the masses of pages?
Yeah, it's definitely daunting if you've never seen it before.
Yeah, so essentially you have like a bunch of pages because there are so many texts throughout the state. You sort of just figure out which one you're doing. Like don't write on one that you haven't studied, and just go to that page, go to that topic, and that's all you kind of need. It's sort of like a I don't know, like a catalog of topics, and you just find the one you need. And the order is, I'm pretty sure, text response, and then so if we look here, I think it might be easier if I do this because my screen's the one they can see, so I can move it around more. You can look at all the text response ones, which are all here, and then you have all your comparative ones, which are on these two pages, and then you have at the very end your argument analysis article, and then you get a separate book for writing. Yeah, for writing all the sections. Pretty sure you get a separate book for each section, if my memory is correct.
Yes.
And yeah, make sure you don't write stuff in the wrong section. It's just like they'll figure it out, but it's just annoying. Do you want to talk about what order you sat the exam in? Which sections and why?
Yeah, so I think most people sat, I think, analyzing argument first, because that's when you can sort of get the most off with reading time. Is that what you did?
Yeah, argument analysis first, and I agree with the reading time point.
Yeah, and then A or B, depending on which one you feel more comfortable with, I think.
Yeah, so I think B was the hardest, but honestly, I did that last because I usually rushed the first two, kind of rushed the first two, and tried to have as much time as possible for the last section. And argument analysis first is definitely a really good way to go. How long did you spend on argument analysis?
I usually spend like 50 to 60 minutes, I think, which is a bit longer than some people.
Okay. Yeah, I aimed for 45, 50, and then an hour for text response, and then an hour 10. I feel like comparative just like it's a bit angsty about it because so many topics. So many like you have to compare the moments and all that. All right, I guess we'll go to 2019 exam then. We'll have a look at 2020. We're doing the text response for Women of Troy. Do you want to take us through? Let me find the page with the topic size. So this is Alex's essay and analysis that he'll be sharing. What page is it on? The last one? Yeah, the last page. All right, take it away, Alex.
Oh, I did it again. What page are you on, sorry?
I'm on the last page, so where all the topics are. Where the topic of the Women of Troy is for 2020. So move your arrow up, up, up. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm on this page.
Women of Troy, this is 2020? Yeah. So our school studied The Women of Troy, which is a play by Euripides. It's quite straightforward and simple in storyline. which is probably why the teachers chose it. And the topic I wrote was the actions of the Greek and the women of Troy cannot be justified. Discuss. Yeah.
Same.
Yeah. So where do you want me to start, Darren?
I don't mind. Like you're in charge here. If you want to go straight to your essay now, or you
I'm in
want to go
charge.
through, or you want to go through what you're thinking when you see the topic, or whatever you'd like.
Yeah, sure. So I guess if this was in reading time and I saw this, um, yeah, I would look at the topics for A and B first and actually have a think about it. So sure, and then maybe have a gut feeling of which one I might choose, and then move on to the reading of the analyzing argument piece. So this, I guess we can do a bit of a topic breakdown here. The actions of the Greeks in the women of Troy cannot be justified. You can do the keyword breakdown and sort of think about what cause and effect ideas we're sort of thinking about here. So I guess sort of we're talking about actions. Let me just start writing, I guess.
Yeah, feel free to write.
Actions of Greeks, of characters. And this, I guess, applies to any topic you see in other texts as well. And in the text, so the women of Troy cannot be justified. Cannot be justified. That's a pretty grim line, basically. It's pretty like one-sided. So in that way, I guess it invites someone who's reading this topic to actually think about how they can contest that idea, which is basically that's what the examiners are trying to point you towards when they say something like cannot be justified, or in the top one, if you read the first topic, seek to control the lives of women. That's also quite an extreme word. So you can think about how control is in sort of not as black and white a way as just that word. Right. So going off that, yeah. Then I guess it's time to start trying to put boxes into like what we can actually use from what we've written in the past, right? So basically, with this text, it was about a lot of suffering that was experienced by these characters called the women of Troy. So the Trojan women who were left after this big war happened. And so what we sort of analyzed in this text was basically how the suffering was inflicted upon these women and what emotional experiences and physical experiences and traumas they received in this story. So going off that, a lot of the actual evidence we'll be using will be the same because, well, the ways in which the women of Troy are impacted in this story are pretty finite. It's all pretty doom and gloom. So in that way, we can sort of break that down and think about all those text examples, from where the women of Troy suffered and could have been unjustifiable or could have been, I don't know, there could have been some reasoning why the people who are inflicting that trauma were doing that.
Yeah, good. So same with Alex. In reading time, I would take a look at the topics because you're always curious, right? Like you just want to know because it's the actual exam. For me, I think I was pretty clearly leaning towards two because I thought men seek to control the lives of women. I just thought it was a little hard point to argue. In terms of like, I hadn't written many practice essays about sort of feminism and women and men on the play. I was more so destruction and like bravery and that kind of thing, which was, I thought, more relevant to the second topic. So would you like to jump to your essay now?
Yeah, okay.
Sure.
So I
Let me find it.
don't think it's going to be the same essay as the one I actually wrote. This one was on a different topic, wasn't it?
Yeah. It's a similar
But I guess,
idea.
yeah. So if you don't mind, I can go through how you might adapt an essay you actually wrote in the past into a new topic without actually, well, examiners like really getting pissed off because they think you're just trying to copy and paste, right? So this topic was an essay I wrote on the topic of Euripides laments the inhumanity of war. Discuss, another discuss topic. It seems a bit different from what we had before, which was, what was the topic before?
Men are not justifiable.
Unjustifiable. The actions of the Greeks are unjustifiable. However, in this story, there's only so many inhumanities that really actually happen in the story. So Again, as I said, the evidence will be the same, as in you'll be talking about what was in the impacts that those characters received,
Do you want to
and then
annotate?
moving from that,
Do you want to
we
annotate?
can talk about we can use that evidence basically. I'll just make it easier to read.
Just annotate
So
the
that
page a bit
evidence,
more.
yeah,
Annotate the page a bit more. I think it will help illustrate what you're saying.
yeah. So what we had before was, oh, my handwriting is really big in this one. I'll zoom in a bit. That was that, right?
Yeah, that's the topic.
And then we had
say.
the inhumanity of war. So basically, what we can start linking is the idea of war with the actions of the Greeks, right? So because the Greeks were the conquerors and invaders, we can start thinking, well, like that constituted war pretty much. And what I talk about in this essay was a lot about like how the events of the war occurred, and the events of the war were pretty much engineered by these Greek characters. So those actions of the Greeks, pretty much we can start equating those two things. And then in humanity, well, those are pretty much the two main things we actually need to talk about in this whole essay: inhumanity and war, and the relationship between those two. And once it comes down to that, basically, it's just another variation of, well, how does this author, this playwright, talk about how the events that occurred in the story, or this mythical story, were bad to an extent of being unjustifiable or not human in its character, right? So the basic gist is actually quite similar. And I think that was one of the easy things about this actual text that we did, because a lot of the topics really were just a repetition of themselves. Okay, but going off that though, we can't really use the exact same moments that I used in this essay. You can start reading through it, I guess.
Yeah. Do you want to just like, I don't know, talk about your structure, annotate like
Yeah,
where you signpost, that kind of thing?
true. So I think we can go through this essay pretty quickly. This was an essay that was a practice essay basically, and you can see if you scroll down or zoom out a bit, that's actually quite short. So that's like a paragraph the size of an intro, but it has like most of the stuff, and I think this got a full mark on the practice exam. So that's just like I think one of you guys asked like, how can you fit yourself into these time conditions? You can just write short. Honestly, it's not that big of a deal if you don't have enough quotes, basically. All right. So basically, intro started off with talking about basically signposting some ideas about human empathy, the absence of that, and then, well, some context, and then my first and second and third body paragraphs up to around here. How can I split that? That's probably 1, 2, 3. If you were to read through that, I think that covers it. I think our pictures cover the stream. By the way, Darren.
Our picture's covered. No.
Like they're covering the annotations I'm making.
Oh, okay. All right. I'll just.
It shouldn't matter too much.
Yeah.
So first body paragraph. Sorry, how war corrupts any sense of shared humanity. I guess this is like essay writing 101 basically. You just write first BP is the simplest idea you can imagine basically. And basically I'm presenting the face value evidence of why this playwright had this contention. And by doing that, I just have some examples of the pretty confronting, horrific things experienced by the women of Troy. Then
I'll just annotate some of the things you're saying. So,
Yeah.
simplest idea first, which I agree with. Usually, you do want it to be quite straightforward. Usually, just like agreeing with the topic, like, oh, it is really inhuman or it is unjustifiable.
yeah,
Cool. What
and then
next?
because these are like time conditions, right? I guess some advice for that is topic relevance is always something they're going to be picking you out for. So it's usually safer in an exam to really go for latching onto the keywords of the topic, right? So I go for it's fine to repeat yourself, repeat the same words, but I just go for inhuman, inhumanity, humanity. I just try and use those words as much as I can, and to show that I'm talking about the topic in specific inhumanity in its specificity, rather than just cruelty or traumatizing actions or whatever like that. So it's okay to sort of dumb yourself down a little and just say, look, I may be repeating this word, the word human probably comes up maybe 30 times in this essay, but it's all in the spirit of finishing the exam and making a relevant essay. All right, what was the second idea? We had a quote start, so a bit interesting, but how human civilization is what suffers as a result of war. So I think the difference between my first and second body practice was mainly about one is focusing on the individual experience and the second is focusing on a social experience of suffering. That's one way you can try and think about differences between BPs. If you're struggling to if you feel like every BP you write is the same idea, right? That's a common problem. Sort of making these subgroups might give you an idea of like the variety of ways you can actually differentiate.
Yeah, it's good, especially with a text like Women of Troy. If you're doing the same one, destruction happens on a lot of levels, like destruction of future, destruction of Troy as a whole, destruction of the individuals of households. So you can split those different levels in your paragraphs. So you sort of have a straightforward first BP, but your second BP is like the same general idea. It's just like applying to a different group of people or a broader group of people in this case.
All right. Thanks, Darren. And the third paragraph, so the second paragraph, we had some more social ideas such as culture. Might just highlight these so you don't have to read through the whole thing. By conflating that with the ideas of dance and cycle and ritual.
So Alex,
What
Alex does really well is like he really clarifies human civilization. Like it's not really good enough if you just say Troy like dies, that's the end. But all these things that are broken, tradition broken, dance which is like very sacred broken. That's how he illustrates that the whole civilization is crumbled.
Thanks, Darren. I didn't know that myself, actually. Yeah, so having described all this suffering and how Troy itself is laid low and its individuals are laid low, then my third paragraph you really, if you want to sort of differentiate yourself a little, I guess you really do need to sort of provide some kind of challenge to the topic or complicate the idea by providing some more. Like, oh, this is something, like the inhumanity of war is something, but there's actually something more about war that is even more terrible. Right? So this was the fundamental crime was how even those who are on the sort of side of sympathy and humanity are too afraid or too pressured by their social constructs to actually act and make change, causing what we see as like this cycle of war happening even to this day, right? So I go and find an example of that in Telethebius, a character on the Greek side. So he's on the enemy side, but has sympathy towards the women of Troy who are suffering, right? So there's a simple way you can really bring a different idea to the table just by using a different character or a specific character, or even just a specific moments in the story. So
Yeah.
let's go to, this is the third paragraph, yeah?
So
yeah, go ahead.
yeah, so in summary, like his ideas are basically inhuman because it destroys individuals, inhuman because it destroys civilization. But then like inhumanity isn't the ultimate focus. What also makes war so horrible is because people who are aware of how bad it is, who are seeing the atrocities, who actually like kind of disagree with it, they still continue with it. And I think Alex will talk about his like specific how he analyzes stuff a bit later. But some things you can do is sort of like you use description in your analysis to support your idea. For example, like shamefaced, like you add adjectives and little things like that, which are not in the text, but you add them to like sway the reader to see things the same way you do.
Yeah, pretty important. And a conclusion which was basically its conclusion's pretty like straightforward. You usually just repeat yourself a little, even though they say not to be too repetitive, and make it as short as possible, especially in the exam. Here what I've done, basically, I've referenced some of the sort of, I guess it's a good part to reference some of the more broader devices in the text. So if you have something like a foreword or a, what's it called, an epilogue, or a postscript in this case, an epilogue, or just some kind of portion of the text that summarizes a bit about what's going on. A lot of texts that we study in this subject will have something like that, or at least some chapter that might provide a summary of the ideas of the whole text. And that's where you want to start putting those quotes from those parts in the intro or either in the conclusion if you want to have like a really like rounded out essay.
Yeah. So my opinion on conclusions was slightly different to Alex's, but it was probably influenced by my teacher. We both did equally well, so it depends which way you want to go. For me, I wanted conclusions. Like I probably spent one sentence summarizing, but then I moved on to taking it broader, like sort of just talking about war in general, talking about like people, life. It's more applicable to comparative, but sort of things like this postscript here, they helped me take things broader. So, for example, what particular Troy, what the guy here is referencing is that like there's future tragedies, which sort of moves beyond this book, and that's what I liked doing in the conclusion.
All right.
Did you want to say anything about
essay on a different topic? Yeah, sorry.
Did you want to say anything about like how you analyzed things, or whether you picked like a moment per body paragraph, or how'd you pick like the context?
Yeah, I'm happy to do that. I think I might talk about how like this topic might be adapted into the actual exam topic for a second. I think that's quite
Sure. Go for it.
important to sort of figure out. We're going a bit micro into this text in particular, but so actions. Maybe we can go back to the topic. Actions of the Greeks with war. Like the thing to note in like the difference between those two is war is like this passive, cloudy idea, whereas action of the Greeks is this more specific thing that the examiners actually want you to talk about. So as soon as you see a particular group of characters referenced in the topic, that's a signal to actually talk about and use evidence from those characters. So the key thing that I would need to do to adapt some of the body paragraph ideas about suffering and inhumanity in this essay would be to talk about how the fault of them is lying with, for example, I think the characters are Menelaus, Agamemnon, the kings and leaders of the Greeks, and their actions and the way they bear themselves. And I provide some evidence about that first to then create this cause and effect, sort of their actions, their consequences, and the link between them. So in that way, some topics will be more specific than others. And that calls for basically adaptation to sort of to meet that specificity.
Yeah, so I'm totally in agreement with Alex's assessment. So essentially, with the topic we have now, laments the inhumanity of war, it's not so important to pinpoint who inflicted this inhumanity. It's more so like this general war, like this is just a consequence of war. These things have happened because of it. Whereas, if you've read the text and just for a more specific topic than general, you'd have to spotlight particular people, what they did. For example, ordering the death of what was the kid's name? Uh, A something.
Stynax.
Oh yeah, Astyanax, or taking Cassandra as well. I'm pretty sure that was Agamemnon. Yeah, so Agamemnon taking Cassandra. So the focus would be more specific for a topic because it mentions the Greeks and their actions specifically.
Yeah.
That's good. Anything else you wanted to
Um,
talk about with this essay or this section?
I can go through a few of my analyzing sort of things.
That'd be good. Yeah.
It's really like, I think for people who do literature, it's 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 an idea that is taught quite extensively in that subject, but it doesn't come up as much in English. This idea of close analysis and actually like creating this sequence of logic about what you're actually analyzing and the significance of that. So first paragraph, I always try to have like a theme of what like the things that I'm trying to analyze, not that just aren't connected purely by like the character or the event that's occurring, but rather by like the device that's being used or the sort of the kind of evidence I'm using. So this first paragraph I use because this is a play, right? It's always important to consider the actual text type. So this is like screams and moans. We sort of start using the actual voice of the characters and how they would sound in an actual on a stage, right? And basically, I try to make a sort of picture, right? So we have screams and moans. That's what we hear. That's like the first thing we even engage with when we're watching the play, because it starts off with a blank stage, pretty much. Then what we see is a woman on a face on the ground, and then we have the language of the Greeks talking about what's happening to them, and then to compound that, we have the cries of the women. I've kind of lost myself, but basically, I think that can all be summarized into try and play the moment or the event of the story that you're analyzing like a bit of a movie scene, and pick out this part, different parts that work as evidence, different senses. You might think five senses: see, smell, touch, hear. What's happening in this environment, rather than just this was something that was said by a character. Therefore, that's what they mean, and that's what that character is about. Yeah.
Yeah, my approach was slightly different to Alex's. I really liked. I think I would like to have tried his approach, but I didn't really do that. So essentially with me, I just sort of do the classic, like you just find one moment and you sort of analyze it. So either the start of the play or an instance where I might choose, for example, inhuman relegation of women. I might do the start of the play when all the people are talking and they draw lots and all that kind of thing. But I do agree with Alex's assessment that since it's a play, it's really good to appeal to what it's like as a play. So Astyanax was a little kid who was thrown off the battlements, and he had like a ending scene where they called him a tender corpse. So I would describe, as the body of a tender corpse lies on stage, Euripides reminds or seeks to, shock the his Athenian audience. So really just interacting with the fact that it's a play and it's legitimately like playing out in front of them right now.
Exactly. Yeah. And in that way, this is kind of like argument analysis, and sort of audience impact is really quite important to think about.
Yeah, good. So, for example, Alex is here. I'll just underline piercing audiences both Athenian and modern with the unacceptable cruelty. With Euripides, with us, he had like because his message was still applicable to us now, so we often had to mention both audiences and compare them a little bit. So some things like Cassandra, who was a I don't remember like a consecrated priestess or something, her like rape by Agamemnon would have been more confronting for them than for us. Like for us, it's already like really confronting, but for them, there's that added religious factor, which I acknowledged in some of my essays.
Great.
Yeah, are you happy with this then? Is there anything else you
Yeah,
want
I'm
to
happy
say?
with this essay. What are we doing next?
We will
B.
look at argument analysis. Oh, well, yeah, we'll
Argument.
do B last because A and B are kind of
Sure.
similar, so I split them. With argument analysis, we'll be looking. I don't know. This is the 2021. Like I don't know. Like this picture, even with all my skills of analysis, there was not much I could come up with looking at this thing. So we'll be doing 29 anyway. I think it was a slightly better text, and Alex had a essay prepared for that one. So let me just find 2019. It's here. So let's just go through reading time because it's pretty important here. How would you chunk this? And yeah, essentially, how would you chunk this? What's your planning in reading time like with this piece?
2019.
Yeah, so I'm on Haley's local store right now. So the picture, that kind of thing. I'm on the first page. Go left. Yeah, right there. Move left a little bit more with your mouse.
Yeah, got it. Yeah, all right. So basically, there's two texts. There are two images, and you want to talk about the images in conjunction with either of the two chunks of the text you might be doing. So the first one, the image I want to talk about quite early on because it's presented pretty early. I think a rule of thumb with argument analysis is always just go in chronological order because that is the way a reader would actually experience the text. I think some teachers actually teach go by technique or something like that. Personally, yeah, I just feel like going in chronological order is the most logical. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I don't. I feel like techniques just makes it harder for yourself because you'll have to like group stuff together
Yeah,
and it gets a bit messy. But I mean, like if you that's what you've practiced, if that's what your teachers told you, and your school has done well, then go for it.
yeah. So tips for interpreting the visual. Well, there's a lot to do with sort of finding a link with a line in the text that you can quote in conjunction with the image.
Definitely.
So we can try to do that while chunking even. So this is a picture is a pretty introductory image of the actual writer herself in the store. If you've tried this paper, you might know it's Haley Astaire, and she's the manager. And we don't know for sure actually if this is the actual manager, which is a mistake that I made when I was writing on this one. But when I'm reading this, I think what comes to mind is I'm in our store every day. Might be a link. I'll just there's like a lag when the thing comes up, I think.
Oh yeah, it's fine. Just like just live with it.
So even maybe like drawing lines from the line that the quote,
Yeah.
relevant to the actual picture, and then when you actually write about it, you can say like, as is sort of represented in the picture of, and you have to describe the picture obviously of a store of what's it called?
Supermarket.
A supermarket worker shaking hands with a customer and wearing both people wearing a very bright smile. It's apparent that Astaire puts a lot of sort of effort into developing this relationship with her customers, and we can talk about which is reflected in her you could say, statement that she's in our store every day, sort of, what do you call it? Being there for the customers that she has this responsibility to serve and therefore a relationship with.
I would,
And you can analyze that from there. Yeah.
yeah. Another point that you could insert this in is here. Sort of, I was thinking also here is possible. Like there's not one correct answer for this, or
Mhm.
sort of yeah. So the lines I've underlined, it sort of just shows they care about their customers, and here you sort of see them, really like there's physical contact with the customer, and it looks like there's direct
Mm.
interaction there. They're both smiling. You can put it there as well if you wanted to put it a bit earlier, but I 100% agree with Alex's point that you have to, like, it's such a good idea to tie it in with somewhere in the text. It just makes it so much smoother. I know some people do the image by itself, and I feel like if the image is like so much to talk about, maybe, but most of the time do tie it in smoothly with a point in the text. I can go
Yeah.
into how I chunk this, or
Um,
would you like to do that?
Chunking, yeah. So pretty clear that first image will be with the first chunk, right? So we can probably go up to,
Actually, do write your chunks on the left, like do
yeah,
brackets in like blue, and I'll do mine like after this
yeah,
because we might be a little different. But yeah,
yeah, true. Oh, frozen.
oh no, the stream's just frozen when I like move to another tab and I'm answering comments and stuff. Like, don't worry about it. They can still hear you and
Mm.
see the stuff. It's fine. Alex, would you like me to just go through how I chunk it first? Then
Mm?
would you like me to go through how I'll chunk it first, and then you go through how you chunk it?
Oh, yeah, sure. Mm.
All right. All right. So, essentially, looking at the first two paragraphs, first two or three paragraphs. Let me look. Yeah. All right. First three paragraphs. For the first three paragraphs, I feel like she's kind of establishing. I'll do mine in what in in green. All right. I'll do mine in green. For the first three paragraphs, for me, that kind of looks like she's just really cementing and impressing onto the audience that she like cares about the store. Like this store has been working with the people, it's been serving the people. That's the idea I get. And you see things like valued. And this isn't stuff I'd be specifically looking at, but it sort of stands out to me. So things like valued, we put our customers first. We will introduce another improvement. So that for me would be one chunk. You'll be looking at Alex's essay, so his one will be probably slightly different to mine. Next, I think it's more convenience and let me have a look. Convenience and also um, how Australia is moving towards this kind of digital economy as well. I think maybe I'll keep this. I'll put this all the way to here as one chunk. So this is convenience. She's really impressing onto the customers that, okay, we're already kind of using cards and it's just so much more convenient to do so. Next, this would be my chunk. So Alex influenced me a lot with AA. I used to only do three paragraphs, and then he suggested I do more because he's like, why not? And then I realized it was quite good, so I went with that approach. And this
Yeah.
last part that I sort of highlighted here is just that like we can't be left behind. Oh, whoops, it's not the last part. Let me see. Oh, it's up to here. My bad. But essentially, it's just not wanting to be left behind. She's sort of saying the whole world is moving ahead. Australia's moving ahead. The governor has made this announcement. And so we shouldn't be left behind as well. So it's kind of moving with the times. So I have one, two, three, four paragraphs for my first text, and I think I'll just do one paragraph for the last text because I don't think it's that long. And the last part here is sort of a combination of both saying that acknowledging the concerns of other people, so they often have this like a kind of a rebuttal, plus the end saying like we'll serve you, and I'll probably say like this is harking back to what was said earlier. And the last text would just be one big chunk for me because I feel like there is some nuance, there is some rebuttal, but overall, like I wouldn't do 2 paragraphs for the last text. How about you, Alex? How would you chunk this?
Nice. So I was trying to find how I chunked it in the essay, which actually was a bit questionable now I look at it. But, so I chunked the first picture with the first 3 paragraphs, basically, up to we're talking about having no extra money. And then the rest was all 1 paragraph, which is a bit sus. I know. And the second text, I did 2 paragraphs because I thought I had to analyze the image. So yeah, that one was between the first paragraph and then the next 2. We can see how that worked, but may not have been as successful as it could have been. But yeah, honestly, with the chunking, it's so important to go through like, you can split it by focus. So where is the focus depending on like who is the writer talking to, who exactly, like what party, what kind of person is this writer trying to persuade at this particular point? And then in the next chunk, for example, she might be moving on to a different target audience. Like it's possible, but the distinction between these 2 audiences might be very slight. It might just be like one is a bit more inclined to agree with her, whereas another is slightly less inclined or a bit reluctant and questioning. Right, so even that can be an idea for splitting.
So the main thing for splitting, I'd say, sort of like what Alex said, you just gotta have a reason for splitting it. It can be any reason you like, but as long as it's sort of covered in your topic sentence and it kind of makes sense, then you can split it. Like it's not the biggest deal whether I included one paragraph and Alex didn't include this paragraph. It's more so that your paragraph doesn't seem like it's just a mess of things together.
Yeah.
And with the picture in the second one, Alex, where would you put this? Where would you slot it in with what part of the text?
I put that. Let me see what I did. I put that in the second chunk of that piece, I think.
Second chunk. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
So the second half of that little piece.
Oh yeah, I'd agree with that because it's sort of talking about this old lady who isn't let me think.
Yeah, exactly. So I tried to sort of think about these ideas of eliminate cache error, eliminates.
Yeah.
Withdraws a cache or a pension, she knows, and then relies on cash. And just like the idea of technology failing someone, basically, right?
I think someone asked me interpreting visual, and I said overanalyze stuff. So a piece of overanalysis here would be saying that out of service also refers to them sort of eliminating, like telling the person's mother that they don't matter. Like it's kind of the same idea, right? You're sort of saying that a person's out of service, but in essence, like you should be able to read things to that kind of depth, and then you sort of pick the ones that make the most sense and are the most original. I probably wouldn't write that because it's a bit extreme. But in essence, like you should be able to see links like that.
Yeah, fair.
All right. We had a few questions in the chat. Do you want to answer that and then we can go to your piece, or is there
Yeah,
something
sure.
else? All right, cool. Let me have a look. So Sleepy Pogger asked, in reading time, do we just analyze AA?
Pretty much. Or there's not much else to analyze, is there? So yeah, think about. Read, of course, read that background information very carefully, so you don't make any mistakes there.
Yeah.
And then we can start slowly going through the AA.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Sort of, I think you can kind of consider what paragraphs you might write, but usually like the topic will be something similar for section A and section B that you've seen before, so you kind of know what paragraphs to write. If it's like a completely new topic, then maybe devote a little bit of time, but mostly argument analysis. And one thing I found was really helpful was to write the intro in my head during reading time because I found the intro
Yes.
took a bit like if you didn't write it in your head beforehand, it takes a while to write because you gotta like phrase things and that kind of thing.
Yeah. Um,
All right,
a
next
few
question.
last things. Yeah, sorry.
You go. Were you talking about?
Um, so like I think there was a question about like analyzing visuals and things like that.
Yeah, sure. Go for it.
So it's important to, I think with AA, it's important to just analyze everything, and like that's pretty much like everything on the page. So in this one, we can talk about the title, the fact that it's a paid advertisement. Um, just like in other ones, there might be like a logo, anything like that. It's really it's that's pretty much like something you really should be feel compelled to analyze somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Usually I think in AA it's better to cover everything. Like cover, not cover everything, but like cover every part of the text, but not do every single technique, rather than spending a lot of time in one part of the text, missing other parts.
Exactly.
That's what I
Yeah.
think. Yeah, it's good to sort of take a bite out of everything. Next
Yeah.
next person asked conclusion for APA. Did you write one? And if so, why?
Conclusion. I think in the SAC we wrote one, but not in exams.
Oh, you didn't write a conclusion in the exam?
May have been like one sentence, but honestly, yeah, it was not something substantial.
Yeah. It's not that important, but I like writing one just to like cap it off because it just feels like
Yeah,
it's finished.
might be just like 2 sentences, honestly.
With Nadira's question, Alex and I did the
Yeah.
same structure. We both started with analyzing arguments because it's, I feel like it requires the most thinking in terms of like, you got to find a lot of stuff. And also reading time, going straight from reading time into that is more helpful. And then I did text response and then comparative. What did you do, Alex, or did it change from each exam?
I did comparative last
Okay, yeah,
because it
same.
always takes the most time.
Yeah. Uh, all right. There's a couple questions at the bottom. I think we'll get to them. Do you want to do them at the end? Oh, we'll do them now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you see the bottom four questions. Srinivas and Jing Yuan.
Yeah.
So what do you think about I don't know, the first question, current media.
In current media, I think they're all fake.
Oh yeah. Yeah, true.
Yeah,
Some of
they're
them.
all engineered.
Yeah. I'd say
Um,
that I'd say that usually they find topics that are accessible to everyone. Like because the whole state's doing it. So they usually find something quite generic, like a supermarket or like a
very
drone.
plain.
I
Yeah.
think the drone one is even a bit more unusual for to what they normally do. But usually something quite like just normal. But I don't think it should affect your preparation.
Yeah. And yeah, so predicting topics, I don't know about that one.
Yeah. I think the
I think it's
best
better just like go broad with your practice, right? I think that's what our teachers are like. You just got to try every kind of combination of texts, or like one big picture and small text, or two pictures and one text, or like it could be any combination. You just got to try all of them.
agreed. How do you write topic sentences? In argument analysis, my teacher, I had a different teacher to Alex, but my teacher taught me to do I in the first topic sentence, which is idea plus intended impact. So essentially, an idea might be, for example, we were talking here. The idea is to establish the store as having served these people and having really catered to the people for a long time. And what's the impact of that? It's so they like Haley more, they trust Haley more, they feel like Haley has really been having their best interests at heart. So I would capture those two things in my topic sentence. How'd you write? How are your
Yeah,
topic sentences?
the topic sentence stuff. It's the topic sentence and final sentence of each paragraph is really the chance for you to establish the logic, the sequence, right? So another question we had was the order of arguments, so staging, establishing that order through like words like initially, in your topic sentence, and then in your first body paragraph, topic sentence, and then in your second body paragraph, it's like having established this in your second topic sentence, then the argument moves on to this. So having that ordering and that kind of vocabulary in those topic sentences is so important for exactly stating the order of arguments.
Agreed. It's very like big brainy if you can do that. For example, like I was saying here, so at the start they are establishing, we help people a lot. We've helped you guys for a long time. At the end, if you have any questions, as always, we are here to serve you. So something I would say is like harking back to their earlier argument that they have always served the people. They've always had the people's best interests at heart. They start with that, they finish with that. And throughout, you do Alex's thing of saying next, in addition, after establishing the blah blah blah, they do blah 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 blah. It's really good to track the progression of argument.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we'll move on. We'll come back to the questions at the end, but we'll move to your piece. Are you happy with that?
Yeah, sure.
Cool. And someone was asking about the what, how, why structure. So if you were able to point that out in your piece, that would be great. All right, let's have a look. I am on the piece right now, so whenever.
All right, I'm on. So what, how, why? Won't go so much into like actual content of analysis, but like thinking about, well, what, how, why, of course. So the intro is quite formulaic, you'll find. So some of you may have already figured out, like this first sentence, second sentence talk about this, third sentence talk about, for example, what the contentions are, and then some information about the audiences and the intended sort of impact of each piece. So I've tried to do that in as few sentences as possible, whilst also talking a little about tone, as is the key. So a little bit about tone in the introduction.
Good, yeah. So for the intro, there's like a specific thing you have to do. I was pretty sure there was an acronym, but I forgot what it was. I don't even remember the Inglang one, honestly. But yeah, you just have to cover the points. What they're looking for is for you to hit all the points. So context, audience, what else? Purpose, just describing the piece's general contention, and just your language. So as long as you hit those points, you have decent language, then you're off to a good start.
And then, so we can highlight the topic sentence in a way. Opens, so a bit of like chronological order. We have opens the advertorial by emphasizing this decision, by improving the customer experience. This isn't probably the best possible topic sentence. It could have a bit more specificity, but it does have some basics that are required of a topic sentence, such as like laying out like what's the first arguments. Consumer focus, so relating a little bit back to that idea of the customer experience. And then I analyze the title. So you want to analyze the title probably in the first paragraph usually, if it is important.
Definitely.
Yeah, so analysis of the title here, something important to remember. And so if we try and break down a bit of what, how, why, I think. So might be familiar with what being the evidence, how being the technique, device being used, and why being the intended impact of that technique. So beginning with a stair coming across as a store manager wishing to compute with an open letter with the shoppers. This is the what, by use of the our pronoun. That's a little bit of complex. I wouldn't use that normally, but talking about the idea of an inclusive relationship communicated by the words open letter and her use of the word our, right? So if I were to say what W is what and how is H, comes across as
I would say the what is just like open letter or our.
Yeah.
The how is probably
that's the evidence.
Yeah. The how is probably like inclusive pronoun or like Even the
Yeah,
adjective
it's
like
always
open.
hard to try and figure out what I'm doing in my writing. Anyway,
Yeah, he's
so
definitely
basically, sorry.
um yeah. So like you've done the points. Do you want me to just point it out? Um
So this one, yeah,
yeah. So I'd say Alex's what? Like what is it's hard to differentiate the three because but the way I think about it is what is essentially like just the quote. So Alex got open letter ow. How I would say is probably like pronoun, right? Or even the fact that it's open. That's sort of so the adjective open or the fact that our is like this pronoun that's very inclusive. And why? So why does she use all this? It's because she wants to foster an inclusive relationship with the people. So for me, yeah, Alex covers the what, how, why really nicely. And you see how like sometimes you can use two or three sentences, but sometimes like he's done here, you just only need one sentence to cover all three bases.
yeah, but I think it's like it's always a balance, right? Because sometimes a lot of the time I wasn't specifically calling out what exactly the what, how, and why was, which ended up being a problem in my writing for AA especially. So I wouldn't suggest trying to like squeeze everything into as tiny a sentence as possible, because you run the risk of the examiner not really being able to identify exactly what the actual audience impact that you're labeling is, and what the actual device that you're talking about is, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's better to go with a bit more moderate of an approach and not try and analyze too many quotes in one, as I have done, because that always ends up being like a matter of you've put in so many quotes, but you struggle to clearly tie together what the significance of each of them is. And that's a risk you run in every essay because it can often seem like there's so much to analyze, right? It's like in that one specific couple of sentences, there might be so much that works together and in analysis, but that's a trap, right? You have to pick just one or two so you can do that analysis and move on to something more important.
Agreed. The way I like to think about it, and this is like true in like life as well. But like by picking everything, you're essentially picking nothing. Because by picking everything, you are like half-heartedly doing everything, which is essentially not doing anything. So you may as well pick the best ones, skip the bad ones, and like, invest your time in things that matter. And so that's how you like you do well. So for example, like voting, right? If you vote for everyone, then you've essentially voted for no one. So like Alex said, don't be afraid to like cut off things that are like not good and just analyze the good juicy stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Now, when I'm looking back on my writing for last year, I find that I got tied too much into trying to figure out how all these little working parts work together. Sort of like, oh, look, you've got this line of you and us mentality. You've got this about an open letter and how it's trying to establish this familiarity. You've also got things like the relationship between the customer and the servicer, as seen in the picture. You try to put them all together. If you try and get too many little jigsaw pieces and put them together, you're just not going to end up having enough sentences to talk about all of them.
Yeah. Um, so, but you do like it's good when we're at that level that you can see so many jigsaw pieces. That's good, and then you just got to make sure the
Yeah.
next step is to be able to pick the important ones. Yeah, sounds good. Anything else you wanted to say about this paragraph, or are you typing an answer or something in there?
No, it's we'll change. Yeah, I think we can go. I think it's quite good to go to the actual visual analysis. So I'll try and find that.
Here, even as
Yeah.
this, yeah, I will just here. Oh, whoops. No, no, I'm not
Or
right.
like
I'm not right.
almost all of that sort of. There's a bit of that, but basically the red one I've done.
Yeah. So someone asked what you analyze. If you read Alex's, you see he analyzes a lot. Like he analyzes positioning of the actual image, um, people's body language. And I think Alex can go into it. It's his writing.
Yeah. So things like body language, if there's people involved. it's really a matter of like, because like you got to trust your instincts, right? You as a person had some kind of reaction when you saw that picture, right? So what did you think? What was the first thing that came into your mind when you saw the picture? And how would you express that? So basically, it's like anything can count, basically, if you can describe it properly. So your first impression might be like the two people in that picture had a great relationship and seemed happy to see each other. Then, well, how does that sort of emerge in sort of techniques, like visually, like what are little working parts that make that happen? So eye contact, we can talk about like all the things about human expression, right? So eye contact, how they're standing, how they're positioned, the distance they are from each other, who's in the foreground, background, if you've studied something like art or something like that. So yeah, if it's a photo, obviously, that kind of thing might be important. If it's something else, we're thinking about maybe symbols, sort of common tropes that you might associate something with. For example, in that cartoon picture of that credit card machine or receipt machine, that's something you sort of associate with making a purchase, bank, maybe, just anything really that comes to mind to do with money.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that's the beauty of English. It's seeing things that make you feel a certain way or see things a certain way and being able to explain why. Like I've used this example on my streams in the past, but you just look at anything and you can analyze it. You look at the Apple symbol, the moment you see it, you think of like clean, you think of innovative, because that's what the Apple looks like, right? It just looks really sharp. It's not in color, it's just sort of a shade, and it's very sleek. You can find anything and literally be able to analyze it if you are like good enough, I guess.
Yeah, I didn't see what you were showing. Was that just the shop?
Oh,
Oh
whoops.
yeah.
I didn't come back to the picture. I'll do that.
Yes, yeah. That's really. It's just a matter of if you can find something, some kind of meaning from a picture, and it's all up to how well you can express that. So if you have the ability to describe how the picture's working, then do it in the best. Like just do everything. Try and find anything and everything. So it's really not a matter of, oh, is this too much of a stretch? Because if it's something that you're feeling, then it's probably something that someone else is feeling.
So with this picture, the moment I see it, like you just analyze everything, look at everything. Think of when you see something, think of does it have meaning? If it doesn't, then like move on. But usually it does. Like you look at the background, right? You see like the stacks are just full. Everything's full. You got your fruits full. You got different varieties of stuff. You see the woman, she's smiling. She's wearing an apron. It's sort of like a working idea. The really strong eye contact, like Alex said, earnest body language, and shaking hands, actual like physical contact, which is pretty important. Whereas if you imagine they were standing apart, it's a bit weirder. But I think something people might not notice is sort of just the background. That everything is just like there's fruits, there's vegetables, there is what are those, like bottles or something, and yeah, they are all full, which shows like gives an image of like vitality and just like it's a very well stocked and well organized store. Oh, and the dude's dressed well as well. So imagine if the dude was like dressed very shabbily, you would have a different opinion whether it's right or wrong to have a different opinion. That's kind of just the way it is. So he's dressed really well, so you have this more cleaner impression of the shop as a whole. Cool, Alex. You want to talk more about the picture or move back to your piece? Alex, can you hear me?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And yeah, I didn't think of that either with you, like the points about the shelves being stacked and things like that. But it just goes to show like different people do see different things. And therefore, an examiner isn't really allowed to discount your opinion just because it's different and doesn't seem right. Just think of it in that way, maybe. It might make you more confident to actually use something a bit more risque. All right, so what do we...
Just last thing with this image. No, I'll move back to your piece just after this image. So things I'd be thinking, I'll be looking at it, right? Error is pretty big, right? Out of service is like big bold letters. Another thing that some people might not notice is that you see like the receipt thing, like it's really long. So that's also like it makes complications, makes it seem like there's a lot of problems, and it's very long complications as well.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, we'll move back to your piece or anything else you want to mention.
Sure.
All right, cool. Let me find it in this massive paper. All right, I'm following your arrow. Nice.
I think so. A quick note about like how you can move from one text to the other. These benefits. So I think here is where we have the transition to the next piece. Usually it's important to finish off one text with a quote from the end of that text. So that's probably the most ideal way to finish analyzing one text. I may have not done that here, but that's probably the rule of thumb, basically. Then, so we have, in response to Esther, we have, so the requirement in VCA isn't that you have to compare so much between texts, not in the exam at the very least. Maybe in SACs, your teachers will ask you to do that. It really depends. I think, is that right, Darren? Just
Yes.
no comparison, yeah?
Yeah, in the exam, no comparison.
So yeah, it's good. Like that's a good thing that you don't have to stress about in the actual exam. Again, we have what a description of the visual somewhere here. Error out of service.
Where is this? Could you like underline it? Oh, here.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
So here, what I've done, I haven't really analyzed the significance exactly of the thing, the broken credit card register. I've just talked about it, but I've tried instead of like analyzing it. I guess what I've tried to do to compensate is to link it with Morricone's arguments. So we have, starting from here, Morricone portrays Esther as a self-serving rogue, as defined from time-honored community values. And then that image of Esther, I tried to link with the picture of a broken credit card register. So what I've done in this essay is say like, well, what the second author is trying to do is caricaturize the story owner as a bit of a broken machine. She's gone rogue. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
It's like, yeah, could be good, could be bad. But it's interesting. It's an interesting idea to think about, I think.
Yeah, definitely. I did not think of that, but I like
And
that
so,
metaphor.
like, it's up to your discretion if that's a good analysis. But I think the main key we're sort of trying to get to is that you want to try and associate an image or a characterization done by the author with an actual visual image that has been presented and chosen by the author.
Yeah. One thing I was saying with text response as well is you use your own language to support your point. For example, Alex using here, brazen, unpretending language. So it's sort of suggesting like using very emotive language is a very good idea. It really helps solidify your point. So rather than just the author's words supporting what you're trying to say, you use your words also so that your whole paragraph is aimed to make the reader make the reader's views in line with yours. So every single word you spit out is aligned for that one goal, even words that like you don't quote.
Yeah, it's like it's like tone basically. That's tone, voice, author's voice. That's pretty much it. You just got to use words like brazen or just the describing of the tone, which is something a lot of people, I guess, struggle with.
One thing I would say also is that my teacher highlighted this is like tone is like you don't analyze when tone changes. That's not the biggest idea here. Try and analyze when argument changes and tone sort of follows. Right? It's sort of like it's not
Yeah.
like I want to adopt a kind tone. So let's talk about how I've helped people in the past. It's more so I want to talk about how I've helped people in the past, and the tone naturally follows. So follow the progression of argument. Tone is not like a massive deal, but it helps support your like arguments.
Exactly. Yeah. The argument. Yeah. The author's intention is always key. Right. I haven't done. Yeah, I have done a conclusion there. Yeah, you can read that if you want. I've tried to compare between them. I think this was because we were doing a SAC prep for this one.
Probably. I didn't
Yeah.
write this one, so yeah.
Yeah, so I think this was back in like term 2 or 3 or something. In term 3, and we were prepping for the SAC. So I had contrastingly talking about how the tone might be different and the purpose might be different. And the call to action level is different. Yeah.
I think another thing, sort of like, I feel like adjectives just add so much more, or adverbs add so much more to your piece. Because it's like just like a book as well. It just makes your whole piece more exciting to read, and you feel more when you read something. And that's like if you feel a lot emotionally connected to a piece, then you're more likely to like it. So sort of forceful vocal opposition versus just vocal opposition. It makes his piece come to life a little bit more.
Yeah. I think our lit teachers say like the adjectives and adverbs do so much heavy lifting with analysis because they provide this emotional aspect which you can't really put into like formulate logical descriptions. And also because your words themselves, like the words you choose, say something about what you mean as well, and have their associations, their connotations that can be analyzed by someone who is reading your work. The way that you might use your words to align with the argument presented by another can be very powerful indeed.
Agreed.
Anyway, still enough on the AA.
All right. We'll move on to everyone's favorite, comparative.
Yeah, let's do that.
Comparative is more fun to write, but more difficult, but I guess it kind of comes with the territory. All right, 2020. So I had a practice essay for a practice exam, which was very similar to the 2020 exam. So let's find it. Where is it? Here. Once again, just keep in mind that this is your text. I'm pretty sure you have to fill in like what pair you're answering and what topic, that kind of thing. Anyway, so we have one, public duty, personal feeling. This was a topic that I did not write that much. It was a major theme in the film and the novel, but I did not write it a ton. However, the second one, grief, is like a massive deal. I think Alex prepped for both, but grief, like I wrote so much of it that when I saw it, it was just a no-brainer. I was gonna write grief. Let me find
Yeah.
on my iPad.
Yeah, they usually try to make the topics quite doable. So you'll find that you've probably prepped it and you can chuck some stuff. Well, you can get the brownie points pretty easily.
And you notice
And
how...
so,
Oh, you go.
yeah,
My bad.
you'll feel pretty confident and it's not too much to stress about in the end once you've done all your prep, that is.
Yeah, I'd agree with that because true text is kind of hard. You have Frears and Maloof. Usually that gives you something broad, and as you've seen with Women of Troy topic, like the inhumanity, the actions of the men of the Greeks are unjustifiable. That's a lot more specific than responses to grief.
Yes, responses to grief was such an easy topic.
Yeah. So the only caveat and thing to be aware of with this topic, and something I had to be aware of a bit, is when you write it, it's sort of your response to grief. So for example, a lot of the paragraphs I've written had something on like, grief is hard to overcome because people revert to old habits. It's hard to overcome because we revert to old habits. We find comfort in doing what we've always done. But you got to frame that as a response. And everything, you have to be on topic because they know there are big themes, but you got to shift it to the topic. So responses, I would frame it as, in response to overwhelming grief, people often revert to past habits. So with any English topic, you got to shove in the keywords a lot. And grief is quite easy because you have a lot of synonyms. You have grief, you have loss, you have sadness. Whereas sometimes with I think with our topic, the cannot be justified one, I struggled a bit with keywords. Like I was like inexcusable. Like what else is there that I can say with the women of Troy one?
I think just lots of words for bad and undeniably bad.
Yeah.
Just like inexcusable, inevitably, or indubitably. That's the one.
Yeah. So I I agree on that front. As you write a lot, you sort of find more language revolving around that as well. So let's go to my topic about the actual grief, the one I wrote for my practice essay. Last thing I'll note is with the quotes. I think my teacher said do incorporate the quotes. Just shove them in as like a supporting point because they probably fall in line with stuff you've said. You don't want to. If you feel like it's important, you can analyze it a lot. But if you have stuff prepared, then this is more of a supporting point that you can glance over quite quickly. All right, I will jump to my essay then. So I'm handling an iPad and the laptop at the same time, so it's a bit multitasking. All right, so let me find the piece. Cool. So as I've said before, with grief topics, what I like to do is, I think this one I went a slightly different route, but responses to grief. Yeah. So this one I did sort of banal reactions. So in essence, like a very primal response. Like when you feel sad, you immediately like get really sad. You have to scream, you have to shout, you have to cry. Secondly, what did I do? I did connecting with others. And thirdly, I did bringing benefits. It's kind of a logical progression as well, right? Because you have the initial response to grief. Then next, what happens? You try and navigate grief. And then what happens? You have the results of navigating grief. All right, let's have a look at my intro. So the intro is pretty classic, like Darren intro. I just have like a moment at the start, just describe something that's really relevant to the topic. And then I introduce everything quite simply. So, it is almost overwhelming. That's first BP. Second BP, connection with others. Third BP, successfully managing our experiences, we can bring benefits to ourselves and those around us. Right. This is my first body paragraph. You guys can have a read of it. What I would say with the first body paragraph is that, like I said, I would have to adjust this for the exam topic. Because the exam topic is reactions to grief, I would say, in response to grief, we can only act in what is most primal to us, in our most primal emotion. Or alternatively, we revert to what we commonly know. So that's just two different paragraphs, but essentially, like, you just got to frame your topic sentence quite differently. And feel free to pipe in anytime, Alex, if you have anything to add.
Yeah, it's like with grief, it's like the ways grief can be felt and the process of overcoming it. It's really like those two things, yeah.
So something that's really important, and I didn't realize was that important, like, how do I say it? I did it more naturally, is the structure of your BP. And why is that important? Well, for two main reasons. Firstly, it dictates like how cohesive and how like sound your argument is. So how well your whole piece flows. Cohesive and flow. And secondly, it's how you memorize quotes as well, I found. Because whenever I had to prove something, I have a set structure. Right? You have to prove something, you have to set the scene. Then what's next? Then what's next? And you have to use the same quotes each time. For example, for grief, right? You have to establish what the grief is. So for Achilles, death of Patroclus, half himself. So I got to have something to illustrate that Patroclus dying wasn't like the easiest thing in the world. So I often used half himself. And then for who is it? For Charles, it's the death of Diana. I don't think I needed a quote to illustrate that. But yeah. So knowing a structure, you know when you need quotes because you know what points you have to prove. Right. And in terms of comparison, just do it whenever it feels natural. So I think we both did the same structure where you talk about one text at sort of the up to the midpoint. And then the second part of the text, you talk about the second text, but you compare with the first text a lot. For me, I sometimes just shoved in a little piece of analysis like here and here. One thing to notice with comparisons is that try and like really be detailed in your comparison. Right? Don't just say like, unlike Achilles, Charles does this, or while Achilles, or yeah. So just really short. Don't do that. Have like really extend upon both sides. So Achilles, what is his? His grief, his actions in grief are animal in nature. How is this similar to Charles? Because Charles instinctually gives voice to his pent up emotions as well. So I'm really spelling out their two reactions and how they're similar, rather than just saying like Achilles, Charles, gets mad.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like you want to have the comparison quite clear, otherwise it can be actually misinterpreted. People like think, wait, who? Because there are so many characters, two texts after all. So yeah, you want to make it as specific as possible. The comparisons as close together as possible.
Yeah, agreed. And also, you want to like not just the characters, but also like exactly what you're comparing about them. So they both these people are 17 years old. They're in year 11, but one difference is one is good at maths and one isn't. Like you got to highlight all three. It makes it really straightforward what's similar and what's different, and you want the examiner to think as little as possible, honestly, when they read your piece. And then this, I just do as much analysis as possible. I go a lot of back and forth between the queen and ransom. So comparative structure is probably the most flexible in terms of you can just do whatever you like. You can compare wherever you like. The general structure was, like I said before, but there's a lot of variation. Like they're not going to penalize you or anything like that. In terms of analysis, what would I say? I would just say you have to compare a lot. There's not much like else unless you guys had specific questions. Once again, using adjectives, his flippant, her flippant dismissal. And so me setting the scene here was firstly showing what their grief is. What their response is, and sort of whether that's good or bad as well. Yeah. Also, I don't know what Alex thinks about this, but I really love this piece of analysis that I had. It was this sentence. Do you want to have a read and let me know what you think? Here.
Where?
Let me highlight it.
An extreme loss.
I really like this. This is like my favorite piece of analysis. Feel free to take this if you're doing the same two texts.
Yeah, that's really nice. Yeah. Man, the tortoise of was that in there?
Yeah.
Nice. Because yeah.
Yeah, with regards to quotes, I would say like when you write practice essays, you use some quotes, but I think towards the stack of the exam, maybe reread the text and you'll probably notice a lot more quotes. And if you feel like they'll really support your point, then add them to your brain. Yeah. How'd you learn quotes actually?
Hey, I didn't end up. I just I had pretty much prepared everything in advance for comparative. So what I did was whatever topic I pretty much had what pair I was going to do and what quotes I would use. So I like having written on those a few times already, on those pairs, comparative pairs, a few times. Pretty much was using the same quotes again and again.
Yeah.
So yeah, the range of quotes I had was actually quite small. I'd encourage people to actually use more quotes, definitely, but it is quite hard when you're juggling comparative quotes, analyzing section A quotes, and there's three texts altogether. It's difficult, I understand, and also had literature as well, so it's a bit of a bit of a quote fest.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, like Alex said, as you write.
Come prepared.
Yeah, like Alex said, as you write the same ideas, you start proving the same things. You start talking about setting the scene the same way, and you sort of just get used to the quotes. And also, you just remember a lot of random quotes, honestly, and they just sort of fit in at weird times.
Yeah.
All right. Next,
it's just quotes that have something to do with a person's character, they tend to stick. Yeah, because when you think of Priam, you think, what was it? Wooden I don't even remember anymore. Oh no. When you think of Priam, you had those like those particular expressions that really stuck with him.
Yeah.
And Achilles as well.
Yeah, definitely. Because when you describe someone, and the language the authors use is often quite nice to remember.
Yeah, I think comparative. It's really a character-driven kind of response. You just got if you stick with the character and not so much with the event. So you might not go through an event just like one moment. You might go through just their character's progression through a couple of moments. Their transformation from one step A to step B, point A to point B, and then compare it with another character's progression, and there you have a nice comparison.
Yeah. My second BP was about the process. And like I do with all my topic sentences, it's quite broad. Like I don't mention the text, I don't mention people. Next, I sort of like doing this comparison the sentence after, towards the end of the year, I feel like, because it sort of gave me a head start on my comparison. So then I had like a bit more leeway, if you kind of get what I'm saying. But I like doing it straight up. Okay. And setting the scene next. So connect with others. Sort of who connects with who. That's important to say. Also, how do they connect? Like through what do they connect? So you just got to be very thorough. When you're proving a point to get over negative emotions, it's necessary to connect with others. In like a debate or something, how do you prove this? Well, first you have to get two people, right? So who with who. You got to describe how they connect. Is it through words? Is it through actions? Is it through like doing an activity together? And then ultimately it is necessary. So either doing it, they got benefits, or you show that like people who did not do this did not get benefits. So you really got to be really thorough with proving the point. Prove it at every level, and that will really solidify your arguments and give you stuff to write about. Another thing I like to say is also I write like really quickly. So if you feel like what I'm writing, there's like a lot. Let me just zoom out. It's because I write really quickly. I think it was a very lucky trait, like in Inglang as well. All right. So for me, Somax Priam. Yeah, you guys can read this. Quotidian, whatever. And remember, my topic is about grief, right? So Somax telling Priam's story for me wasn't. Let me underline it again. So here, this is where I've underlined here. For me, that didn't feel like a good enough grief thing. Just saying Priam cries because Somax tells a sad story. I thought Priam crying also represented that he cried because he couldn't understand Somax's closeness with his own family. So Somax's closeness with his son, with his daughter, knowing them on a very deep level, Priam doesn't understand that, so he cries as well because he hasn't had that opportunity. So that's what I thought. Cool. And yeah, once again, more comparison.
Great.
And here, like I said before, the consequences. So for Maloof, I did exactly. So remember the two ways I said to prove it. One is that connection helps us, and one is that disconnection hurts us. Those are the two ways you can sort of prove the point that connection is important. So for Maloof, I had catharsis can be achieved through sharing our grief because you see, Somax and Priam working together. You see Priam crying, even though he's like never cried in his life. Next, with the Queen, you see disconnect. And this is what I do. What's the consequence of this? The public hate her. They call her disgusting. They question whether she's a human being. So me portraying the consequences there highlights how it's detrimental to do so. Once again, a lot of comparison, Priam, Elizabeth. And you see these are like long sentences. I'm really illustrating both characters, both authors, and not just saying like or similarly. Don't use similarly. Please don't use similarly.
Damn, I use that.
You're an exception. Thus, both Maloof and Frias. And usually they have a common, like a common theme. Right, last BP, we can bring benefits to those around us if we are able to healthily deal with grief. So I think an important connection to make here is that you can also make here is that like the things we learn through dealing with grief, like how does dealing with grief bring benefits to ourselves and those around us? Do we learn something that helps us do that? Does it make us become like more mature as people? It's that like spelling that out. So we look at this. Priam provides Achilles with an honorable alternative. So what I said was Somax helps Priam, Priam helps Achilles. Because I thought Somax's quote to Priam, "We go on for all our losses," was pretty similar with Priam's. Oh, actually, I don't have this here. Yeah. Anyway, Priam says something to Achilles like, oh no, whoops. Priam says, "We go on for all our losses" to Achilles, and Somax says something similar. What does he say? He says, "We die. Death is in our nature." So up here. Whoops, I've circled it. Here. So you see that these quotes are quite similar. So I thought Somax's message to Priam resonated with him, and Priam passes on a similar message to Achilles. And you sort of show that by communally joining in grief, you can like help other people as well. All right. And for the Queen, it's the classic just speech. And once again, like a very long comparison and a very detailed comparison. And you see, even though it's elaborate, it's very clear what the link is. So Priam discovers true grief. That helps him with, that meant to say bitter, not better enemy. And the Queen's fear at the loss of a people propel her to understand the need to manage her grief. And so, let me just read that again. Indeed, justice. Yeah. So here I made a slight distinction between Priam and the Queen. So Queen, it's not so much her own grief; it's sort of her unable to manage the other people's grief or the people of England's grief. But that helps Priam empathize with this bitter enemy. And what does this grief help the Queen do? Helps her to understand the need to manage others, and also brings like a lightness to the whole piece. And so ultimately, I sort of finish with the both author contention. Finally, this is my conclusion. So conclusion, I quite enjoyed writing conclusions. I think my teacher liked writing it, so it sort of rubbed off on me. But you sort of make it quite fancy, if you want. Like, you don't have to. You can just summarize it, and you get more time with your body paragraphs as well. That's fine. So you see how I don't really like analyze stuff. I sort of just go on from my last paragraph. So my last paragraph was about about like achieving solace and overcoming grief. So my one is sort of like, oh yeah, in the Queen, we get the sense that this is going to last. We get the sense that all the benefits from overcoming grief is going to stick around for a while. But in Ransom, it's not the case. It lasts spasm. And that was my classic end, last conclusion thing. That Ransom, it's ephemeral, it doesn't last. But in the Queen, there's a sense that it's going to last more. Because there is kind of lasting change in the monarchy afterwards. And so yeah, I just really enjoyed it. Like I just liked writing conclusions. I think for my sack particularly, my conclusion was very, very long. Because I think we got an hour and a half for the sack, right, Alex?
Yeah, that's a long time. Yeah.
Yeah, I heard other schools get an hour.
Long essays for that one. Yeah.
Yeah, I heard the other schools get an hour. But I remember I still have my sack essay. It's like really neatly written. Like every word is like really neat.
Okay.
Because like we had so much time, an hour and a half. Jeez, now that I look back on it. And yeah, so lastly, I sort of draw out sort of a philosophical argument almost. We look at us, we analyze people. So Malouf's perfect amity, Malouf's happiness doesn't last. What does this mean? Is it saying that we shouldn't care anymore? But I didn't think it meant that. I think it was just saying that we should do stuff for what it brings in the moment, rather than like banking on it having certainty in the future. And we had English videos released at school, and I think I got some of these ideas from those teachers. Yeah. All right, I think that's it with the comparative essay there.
Right.
Is there anything else you want to speak about? Otherwise, we can just look at the questions. That might be in the chat.
Nothing in particular.
Okay. Let me move us back to the middle then. I think English exam is 27th of October, which is exciting. All right. There were a couple questions up here. Okay, we're talking about we talked about that. How would you go about using reading time? I think we both sort of covered that. Mostly argument analysis and just looking at the topics and sort of picking what topics you might want to write about. Is this live stream for English language or mainstream? Or so it's mainstream English. As you can tell from the exam. All right, what about you, Alex? What do you think about this? Is there any specific thing you look for in visuals, such as color, size, positioning?
Visuals, they're going to be black and white. So, wait, they're black and white, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there won't be color. So I don't think it's that useful to actually like talk about contrast and color and shadows too much, bit too in a gray area. Mainly, I think focus either on like the relationship between the things in the picture. So first, you want to find what are the important objects or people, and then you want to think about the relationship between these things, and also which one is better, which one's not as good. Then I think it's symbols and associations that really should be considered. Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't have a particular order of things. I just sort of like looked at it and then like you see certain things and you just think about what it might be doing. Like I legit looked at everything and I thought about what am I doing. So you can legit find anything. Just find any random picture on the internet. Like even the VCAR study design, like the VCAR thing on our screen now, like Victorian Curriculum and Assessment Authority. Like that symbol next to it. What could it be possibly indicating anything? I guess it looks kind of sharp, kind of edgy.
There's a big question. Yeah.
Yeah. So see everything and think that it has some meaning. And so it's like it has meaning until it's proven not to have meaning. I think that's how I looked at it. Tips
Yeah.
for identifying target audience.
Try to make it as specific as possible, I guess. You want to think about, like, put yourself in the shoes of that audience, and think about how they might be feeling and where they might be positioned on the spectrum of agreement and disagreement.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree. The other thing is, feel free to be as descriptive as you want with your, like with the audience. You don't have to find like a specific term, like left wing young Australians. Just be as descriptive as you want. So people who may not agree with a point of view, or people who are more conservative in their views on going cashless. So anything like if it's hard to explain in like one or two words, feel free to use a whole sentence to sort of describe the qualities of the audience.
Yeah, for sure.
Do you think audience is like important? Like, how important do you think?
Describing the audience.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. You want to refer to it probably in each paragraph. Yeah.
Cool. I think you had a couple of lit questions, but yeah, feel free to drop questions in the chat. Otherwise, we will finish like 9:45 or something. Unless you guys have more questions. Oh, you spent 50 minutes on section A?
How much do you spend?
An hour.
Now, well, sometimes it gets longer, I guess, but usually we do that one okay. It's really comparative. I just like feel like I need to add more and more and more.
Oh, okay, I see. I mean, comparative, it is kind of hard to write, but I also think it's like more lenient. Like there's more room to make error and stuff like that. I feel like more room to not be perfect. Like you can sort of use like one word quotes and stuff. And I don't know. It's not a massive deal.
Yeah.
I don't know who
For me, the
Jay.
challenge was really just relevance, topic relevance, because sometimes it's like just not quite relevant to the exact terms of the topic. So, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know who Jay is. If I know you, just message me. Looks like you had Mr. King, but that still doesn't clarify for me. Well, how long did you get on the exam for each section? How much did you write?
How long?
Yeah, like how much time did you
As in
spend?
words.
No, how much time did you spend on each section in the actual exam?
I think drones, what, like 50 to, maybe it was closer to an hour, I think, for drones this time. Because I like wrote some extra stuff. And then section A was like pretty speed running. Like, yeah, it's maybe like a bit less than an hour.
Yeah.
It all comes out about the same in the end, really. And then let the rest of the time compared. I think I had quite a bit of time left though, which is like just how the exam is.
Oh, really?
Maybe like 5 minutes left at the end.
Well, how'd you time yourself during the section? Would you like, do you have like ideas of where you should be at, like in the second BP or something?
Yeah, but sometimes the BPs would be different lengths. I would think about like how far down the page I would go. Usually, that's usually my measure, but it's just about like how many words you're writing. Um, then I guess it's like 15 minutes a paragraph. You try to get like that's like how much you could be spending on a paragraph if you really were going super fast.
Yeah. I did usually have a time in mind. Well, how many like full exams did you sit before the actual one?
Well, we had the ones in school, right? So yeah, mm,
Two or one?
there's two or three, I think.
Two or three. I think I only
Remember?
said two. I
Oh, we
saw.
didn't sit them like all like strictly.
I think there was
But
one.
yeah, I didn't. I don't think I finished some of them. Like the first one, I didn't finish. Remember?
Oh yeah, yeah. You did it like halfway, and then we like ditched. Oh, you
Yeah,
ditched. Like you
it
started
was a bit
late.
weird.
Yeah. But the one in the
Somehow the unfinished comparative was still D's. Though. Like, don't know how that works.
oh yeah, didn't the guy write like 9 or something, or 10 or something? It finished or something. 9.8, 9.75.
Oh yeah, yeah, that was that one. Yeah,
Yeah, I feel like for our practice exams, I think comparative was marked a bit lightly, and which one was marked harshly? I think women no, I don't know. I don't like practice exam marking. I don't know if that was like that accurate, but it's a story for another time. Yeah, feel free to ask questions. Alex is a very valuable resource, so drop them in the chat if you have any.
yeah, like anything English, I reckon. Literature as well.
Do a Latin stream with Bill Cameron. I'm thinking of doing
Yeah.
Latin, but I don't know whether I'll do a video or a stream. Because if I do a stream, there'll be like 3 people. Yeah. Bill's probably better at Latin now than me. I think he's still learning it.
Surely Med is giving you the edge.
Med is like they don't conjugate stuff. It's just a word, just like no
Yeah,
conjugation.
it's just whatever. Chuck a bunch of things together and make it seem like a word.
Yes, Alex is indeed.
Uh,
Is that Fleming? That jumper.
it is. It is. Yeah, it's pretty good. Still wearing it.
Do you guys I don't know, is like the channel like well known at Scotch or like not? I'm just curious. Because I see quite a lot of Scotch kids in here.
Surely. I mean, they're all in online schooling, so they can only jump to you for resources, mate.
Yeah. I was thinking like before I hit like 1,000 subs, I was like if everyone in Scotch Senior School subscribed to me, I'd have 1,000 like 200 subs. And I was like, damn.
Okay, mate.
I was like, damn, that's like a lot. And like quite far
Yeah,
away. Which is
like
pretty
the
cool.
audience you can reach.
All right, couple questions in. Do you want to go first, Alex?
Separate text response.
From Mango. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a real window. I haven't read that one. But ideas, arguments. Try and think of like, well, there should be like a couple of main contentions of the piece that will come up as essay topics, right? It's a film. So the teacher will have probably explained like this the purpose was like some of the main messages would have been like 1, 2, or 3. Yeah, it might the bigger issue messages, right? And from there, it's breaking down. So, what's the specific theme of that film, for example? Maybe you could give me one and I can like consider what possible arguments we could have.
I'm tutoring a girl in that who's studying Rear
Yeah.
Window.
Yeah.
But essentially like Rear Window is about like peeping toms and people really like looking at the lives of others. It's set a long time ago and it's about like sort of looking at what's happening in other people's lives, like always peeping and voyeurism and that kind of thing.
Right. Um, you can find a sample topic in the exam, maybe.
Oh, did you want to do that? All right.
I'll good. I'll try and find one.
Yeah.
Or you can take the stream over there.
You find it and then all right, we found it. Yeah, I'm just following your mouse, so wherever you go, I'll go.
Should be on like one of the. I'm like going all over the place.
I found it. So question 12 in the 2020 exam. Yeah, so essentially the author has or the director has thoughts on certain issues. I'll move us smaller now. And your teacher will go through them and definitely arrange them under themes. I think themes will give you broad contentions of the director. So what do they crave? Companionship and belonging, right? What do you think they suggest? Let me think. I think for most of it they do crave companionship and belonging. Appearances cannot be trusted. I think that's a pretty big deal, right? They sort of see people one way. They stereotype people. The main guy, stereotypes people. Jeffries, and like things are not what they seem in the actual film. So I think a big contention is that like the way people act outside is quite different to inside. People are hiding a lot of things, and another big theme is sort of like people like prying into the lives of others. It's quite a addictive activity.
Mm.
Would you add anything with those
Right,
topics?
it's a pretty good context. So I guess if you want to come up with like BP ideas, let's take the characters in Rear Window crave companionship and belonging, which is quite a familiar topic because we have that for literature as well. So if we break down, it's about character. It's about individuals in society craving companionship and belonging. So it's really a relationship between individuals and the people around them. How we can break that down? We can think about like what kinds of relationships. Maybe you can break the BPs into that. So you might have familial relationships or relationships with actual like societal expectations. And then, okay, so the examples we might be looking at are interactions that characters have. So it's always important to go first from evidence, like what actually happens in these relationships in the text. What's the actual evidence? And then making your ideas come off of that. So thinking of the relationships between like maybe a family member in the text, for example, or people who are close and are unable to interact properly, or is it about peeping, right? So maybe the act of voyeurism isn't sort of illustrative of that sort of gap in relationships and companionship. You can do one paragraph on that, and then it's actually quite hard, isn't it? What do you think, Darren?
Yeah. So I think the whole premise of that the guy Jeffries is looking at other people shows that he kind of wants to know what's happening with other people. I don't remember exactly what happens in other parts of the film, but I'm pretty sure most of the film agrees with this. So that would be the general contention. If you can find a paragraph arguing against it, that's fine. But I guess his question was about sort of coming up with
What arguments? Yeah.
And generally, it's
Coming
just
up with arguments, yeah, it's really quite like a thing that's important in writing an essay. It's really, if you have three ideas that make sense logically, it just makes life so much easier. How we can sort of talk about companionship and belonging, for example, it's really about, well, first of all, what's one basic idea about craving companionship? So you could say like BP1. How they differ, but I can't actually focus on the prompt. Yeah, so I guess you can do a character focus, but I'm leaning towards more of a how can we talk about companionship in one way, and then in the second paragraph, complicated by talking about it in another way, and then third, talking about like what is the actual resolution that the film actually provides,
Yeah. So something
or the
else
closure that it gives.
that
Yeah.
you can do is like sort of show what measures do people take to get it. So not just like they want it, but also like to what extent do they try and get it. That can show how much they want it as well. Plus, belonging and companionship are quite different things. So you can also split those as well, um, or analyze different parts of it, because yeah, they're very different concepts.
Mhm.
All right. Do you want to look at the next question? So, did we reread our texts before exams? For me, I think I watched the film once. After that, I sort of referred back to it when I needed to. But I do recommend if you're doing a film to write down timestamps. I think it helps a lot with saving time. Rereading my texts, I don't. I might have read Women of Troy once through, um, and just sort of saw if there were any particular quotes I wanted. But I think it's I didn't reread that much. It's more so just revisiting some moments that I might not have looked at in detail before. How about you?
Yeah, I didn't. Basically, that's the short answer. I had like just documents summarizing pretty much what's happening, and I had my quotes and I had my arguments, and that's almost all I looked at. So yeah, I got less and less connected with the text as I went on. I think that was partly because I wanted to just be able to think about the text without actually having it in front of me, not needing to read it too much, unless I had something that I was just at the edge of my mind and trying to remember, and it was just out of my memory. I just need to check what it was. So that was often the case when that was the only reason I would go back and look at the text to jog my memory.
The other thing is like when you write practice essays, you actually reread the text quite a bit. Like you have to go back to moments, you have to check stuff because you don't know the text that well when you first start learning it as well. Yeah,
Yes.
cool. Thanks, Josh, for making it well known. Oh, Simra, I missed your question. How many practice essays did we write for each section before the exam? Just a guess, I guess.
I don't know. Like, it's obviously different between them. I would say I didn't write as many essays as I did plans. So I think the plans are just as useful. One thing to remember is that you don't have to spend all your time writing everything out. But if you can plan every possible topic, it's the same effectiveness. Full essays, I did about I didn't do that many. I did like 6 for each, I think.
Yeah, for me,
What about you?
I did 2 full 3-hour exams. Text response maybe like 7, 6, 5, 5, 6, 7, somewhere there. Argument analysis very. I don't think I did a lot. Maybe like 4 or 3 or something. 4 probably. Comparative maybe 4 or 5 as
Is
well
this in total or like,
for the exam. Like after all the stacks are done.
yeah, I didn't do that much.
Yeah.
I just did the practice ones and like body paragraphs or intros or plans for everything else.
You don't want to like. How do I say it? You want to make sure your paragraphs, your analysis, your structure is good, and that doesn't really come with writing a lot. It just comes with learning each time you write. And
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's it. That's it for me. Nice.
It's do with like teacher feedback as well, which honestly, yeah, it can vary. So
Yeah,
a
like
lot of, if you're not too trusting of your teacher's feedback, I guess it's good to really think about the study design and ask yourself whether it like reflect yourself, whether or not you're doing things properly. And often, like when I've been writing things, I've always had moments where like, damn, I could have done this so much better. But I guess it's all done now. I can't do anything about it. Maybe next time I can improve on this.
a big thing I would say is like if you're not confident in your teacher, definitely ask like people who've done well in the past. Like Alex, do you want to drop your Instagram or something in the chat? Maybe people can
Instagram,
or email. I don't know whatever you think.
email.
Like
I
people
like
can
don't use Instagram efficient.
they can ask you questions, but
Yeah,
yeah.
that's fine.
Um.
In the chat, yeah.
Yeah. Sure. What else? Yeah, past students who have done well. Also, something people are not a bit afraid of, I don't know why, is to like ask people who are smart in your class for help. Like, don't be afraid of that. Like, we're just all people as well. Like, I'm very glad when people come to me in English class and ask me like about quotes or how many essays I've done and stuff like that. I think it's like, unless the dude's like, or the person's just not a very nice person, usually they will help you out because VC is together, and like, I just don't see why they wouldn't. So I guess it's also your initial barrier to not, what do you call it, to not be too afraid to even ask people. How do I pin your message? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
And really, it's like bouncing ideas because everyone has their interpretation and their ideas and their relationship with text. And I'm like just as curious to figure out like what someone else might think. And there might be something. A lot of the time, it's like something I've never heard of. Just the other day, it's not might not be a good example, but I was talking to one of my students about Plath and what her contentions were, like Sylvia Plath. And this student who never like read much Plath said like, yeah, I think it's about American war for independence or like the interactions between American Indians and the settlers. And I was like, yes, never heard of that,
All right.
but I can see where that comes from.
All right. All right. Next question.
Yeah, let's just go to
Oh,
the questions.
my bad. It's a nice slideshow. I guess like every time I change tabs, it slides. If that's what you're referring to. Ace, how many times did we read or
That's it.
watch?
I can't really read or watch the texts. It's not a matter of like reading it from head to toe, like start to finish. Often it's just like diving back in for something.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah,
Not much else to say. Exam
I
scores.
think it's just for every essay you might be just going back and doing a bit of a brisk read through.
With the exam scores, I got 57, which was borderline. And I got an 8 and a 9 for my argument analysis. Like, don't ask me why, but this just happened. And then I got 10 for the other
Yeah,
ones.
that was like
What was your split?
so I got 58 in total, and it was 10 for section A and 9 and 9.
Okay, so 10, 10, 9, 10, 9, 10, basically.
Yeah, section A was the only one I could trust.
All right. Specific symbolism in Ransom and the Queen. For me, I think the stag is a big one. It's not really symbolism for me. That was sort of just her. What do you call it? Sort of. I don't even know what it was. Like her seeing something human in front of her, something like that wasn't wanting to killing her. Some people say like, does it represent Diana? Does it represent like her? Does it represent Queen Elizabeth herself? But I just like don't really think so. But I think it was a useful piece of symbolism to use. What else? Oh, in Ransom, the horse, the mule, whatever that thing is, horse, whatever. Um, it's like I think it symbolizes how the ordinary is what gets remembered. Like things don't have to be special because they were grand or because they were amazing. They can be remembered just because they were, quite interesting, which is what beauty is. Apart from that, Ransom, you also have the griddle cakes, the water, which is all just like minutiae and everyday stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
You have any other symbolism?
I remember the one I had about the river in the Facebook. No, it's like because the river appears in both texts, and you have Semex and Priam crossing a river, and there's a lot of danger associated there. And the Queen is crossing a river in a jeep as well, a bit of danger associated there, and she does come unstuck in the end. So I think that would fit into a really nice topic about fate and how those who try to control what happens don't like ultimately they have really no power over what actually happens. And so some characters recognize that more sort of intrinsically, others try to test their boundaries.
Yeah, good. think GC asked you a question, Alex.
What's this?
GC asked you a question specifically for
Do
you.
you think we should prepare more for one essay or spread it out equally? Well, I don't know, GC. Depends on which one you're confident in. Honestly, yeah, it's important to sort of figure out which ones are your strengths and be able to play to those and not worry too much about them. And if you find that one is lacking, then you can start putting a bit more time into one. And since you do learn it in a particular order throughout the year, it might depend on how your school does it as well. So you might not have even learned comparative until end of term 3. And then, well, look, you might be spending much more time on that.
You just want all three to sort of peak around exam period. So whatever you're weak at. For me, text response was I had to catch up a bit from the start. Same with argument analysis. It was like I got a bit rusty.
Mm.
All right. Mango, no worries at all. You can't write well. I think anyone can write well. Just write how you speak. Write how you explain stuff. You don't really have grammatical mistakes when you speak, and usually it's quite clear. I think as long as you do that, legit, like your thing will be quite good. Ideas, I think we sort of went through it. We haven't done a real window, so sorry we can't help like a ton. But I wouldn't focus on each character per paragraph though. I would focus on like how they interact with belonging, and how they interact with companionship, in terms of how do they crave for it, to what extent do they crave for it, do they achieve it in the end, or are there even characters who don't even care about that? Lucia had a question. What advice would we give for argument analysis? Bit of a general question, but what would you say, Alex? After you finished drinking that water.
Graciously. What's the best? What's like the most important advice, I think? What do you think is the most important, Darren?
I think explaining things. Like, explain things clearly, thoroughly, and whenever in doubt, explain. You can explain your way out of any situation, and you can explain, for example, like how your view is right. Yeah, so I think explaining is the biggest deal, and in simple language. You don't have to be too complicated. You just have to make it as understandable and as clear as possible for the examiner. So with the fruit example we were talking about before, sort of like the rows stacked with fruit suggest that Haley's store is filled with vitality and is like the heart of the town or something like that. So essentially, what I think is what I write. That's how I would explain it to someone, and that's how I will write it because it's clear.
Yeah, good advice.
What's your biggest advice?
Analyzing arguments. I think I said this before, but probably just putting yourself into different like types of analyzing argument prompts, and you just got to do all kinds of possible combinations. That's probably the first thing that's important. Otherwise, you come unstuck when there's something you've never seen before, right? Other than that, well, having some kind of structure and any kind of structure, thinking about how you can put things into boxes, categorize, make more distinctions, more little boxes inside of little boxes, more paragraphs and distinctions inside of paragraphs. Because in the end, this argument analysis thing is like a 1, 2, 3, 4 step-by-step thing. It's not so much a developing a big idea by sort of fleshing out one picture and then the other and then the other. It's not that. It's really just going through something in a good logical order and being able to find logic within every little bit that you're analyzing is so important.
Yeah. Next question. How much did you guys study, if you did, over the Christmas holidays or before school started?
Before exams, is this? Or no, before the school year?
School year, so Christmas holidays. Before school started. Like essentially started this year. I assume this person's probably year 11 or something.
Did you do much?
I did the homework. Plus, I did most of spec. Like, I don't know what. I did up to like mechanics, but it wasn't good. Like, I don't think it's necessary. Just enjoy your holidays. Do your holiday homework. If you feel like you don't understand everything in year 11, then cap off on some of those things. But what I did up to mechanics and spec. It wasn't thorough. It wasn't that helpful. Like, it just wasn't necessary. What about you? Do you do much?
Yeah, that is true. It's like the stuff you go through then is pretty rough.
Yeah.
But I think it's also good that you get like a first taste because like this stuff VC stuff, it's like the same thing, but you're just doing it over and over again until you get it right. So maybe it is better to start a bit early and sort of get into contact with the ideas early. And then the next time you see it in class, you'll be like, oh, that's right, we can do this. I remember. So maybe it's like that active recall stuff. If you just do it again and again over a few weeks, you might get better at it. In terms of what I did, I had some spec preparation. I definitely did like study like up to differential equations, I think. But other than that, just the holiday homework, a few essays. Well, that was the homework.
Yeah. So I
And yeah, reading a lot of text because I had like 7 or something. But yeah.
I think I read, yeah, you read your text. I think that's holiday homework. Also in year 11, before year 11 in the holidays, I also did a lot of my Chinese oral, like writing it. So if you have an oral for your language, get onto it early. Also, if you guys have not seen this photo that I sent Alex like a couple of days ago of Somax's horse, please enjoy it. I think it's pretty funny. It was in one of our lecture slides. It just looks like the horse, and then on the back is like Hector's like
So accurate, man.
body. The horse is like, I don't know how those stubby legs carried it all the way to the Greek camp, but and it's shaking. It's probably yeah.
It's got Hector's corpse on it as well.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, seeing that some classmates don't want to help you, it's like, yeah, it's
oh
pretty,
jeez,
pretty
they
grim,
act
isn't
like
it?
they don't know. Oh my
By showing
goodness,
that.
your classmates are atrocious. I think I mean, feel free to ask us. Like I've seen you were in the stream last time, Luch, here as well, and you have like our contact details if you want to ask any questions. I just feel like those people are like what's the point? But you can't really
What's the
change who
point?
they
It's
are.
like, I guess they think it's like a competition and they have to get the sack mark. But to be fair, like if you help each other, you're just going to get much better as a whole.
Legitimately, I did not believe that much in that. I always thought it was kind of a competition until I think English and Latin were the biggest turning points for me. English,
Yeah.
Alex, and two other friends I had, Tom Ann and Max Fang, we'd often call, and especially with Alex, him and I had like a planning thing that we made sort of collaboratively, and I found that helped me so much. And just reading each other's essays and being willing to share, helped so much. So it's definitely a good thing. It's kind of a pity that the kids at your school are like that.
Mm.
Yeah. Bit annoying, but that's life.
Yeah, maybe you can find like a small group of friends to always go back to, but or even the teacher. Sometimes like they're willing to help. Sometimes they can be very willing to help. Yeah, I really don't know how it can vary though.
Okay. Yeah.
Any other questions?
And there's a lot of smart
Yeah.
kids in your year, so it's like if the first one doesn't work, then it's more to move on for. No worries, Ace. And yeah, Ace says cheers for the walkthrough, Alex.
No problem.
Duck Squad says quality or quantity for analyzing.
Analyzing arguments, definitely quality.
Yeah. Yeah. I think quality, but quantity in the sense that you want to cover the whole text. Not as in like you want a lot of examples, but as in you want to like get stuff from the start, from the middle, from the beginning. But each example, you can pick one from the start, one from the middle, one from the beginning, and write it in detail.
Yep.
Cool. Mango asked, from reading the essay you had up, the grammar and vocab are miles away from theirs. Do we have any tips for getting to that level? Most people just say reading. What do you suggest, Alex?
Yeah, there is stuff you can do. Look, I think you got to start somewhere. So start with just single sentence stuff. So like, what can you do with like one sentence on how, or one sentence giving the quote and explaining, and then one sentence talking about what that's the technique if it's analyzing, and another sentence on the C or ABC of ABC. So start with single sentence stuff and think about how you can then start thinking about how you can sort of nominalize. So you might have heard of people just talking about nominalization, turning new words into nouns, making everything like defined. That's really important to sort of get a hang of. And once you can sort of, it's often like if you feel it sounds a bit clunky, look, it's like just stay clunky for a while and just put it in a way that sort of explains things but in a clunky way, and then start thinking about reading back on it and seeing like what can you do to change that sentence. Yeah, so try and call out those little clunky bits and see like what word can I put in to make it flow more, or how can I rearrange things to make it sound better? How can I put a couple things together in like a list instead of saying one thing and then having to repeat myself and say the next thing? Yeah, it's a hard process and it's very like unclear what exactly makes that good writing. But you got it's if that's the goal, to try and write a bit better, it really does come to sort of going down to the microscopic level and thinking about, I guess, how you can mix and match things and put things the other way around to make them sound better, to make them cover more ground, to make them analyze more, to make them do more as a sentence rather than just as a sort of a line that you have there, but you think it's important, but you don't know what to do with it and doesn't seem to connect well with the rest of the paragraph. Yeah, it really comes down to that.
So what I would say is, firstly, you got to be able to write things clearly. So explaining things well in a very clear way. Use the most basic language you want. Have the most simple structure you want. Just make sure it's like grammatically correct, and it's clear what you're trying to say. Next, slot in words, good words where they fit, and that's basically it. That's what I feel like it is for me. Just being able to explain things to a 5-year-old, which I think all of us can do if you're like okay at speaking English, writing that down and just putting in a few good words instead of the bad words, because it's an essay, and that's my opinion on how you can improve. Lucia, what year exam do you recommend to go back to? Okay, for argument analysis, I think go back whenever you want. You can do 2017 or 2020 argument analysis, plus like you can do earlier ones as well, and there are exam ones. I think do the recent ones, because I guess your texts will be on the recent ones, and practice exams are useful because obviously VCAR exams, the topics won't happen again, so it might be from one of the practice exams, like company ones.
Yeah, you should probably look at everything. Basically, you don't have to do everything, but you have to have seen everything and planned and thought of everything.
Yeah.
So go back to all the exams, I think, and actually, you should have like had a think about how you'll do the AA for 2017, 2018, 2019. Definitely.
And I'd say, for example, like let's say you were able to write an essay on every single topic up till the recent one, then you can sort of ask you, then like what are the chances that you won't be able to write a topic tomorrow, or like in the actual exam? It's pretty low, right? So by planning, and for practice exams, company exams, and VCAR exams, it can prepare you for a lot. Did you do an exam every day in the term 3 holidays? I personally did not. I don't know about you, Alex.
Not every day, no. We tried to do like, a couple at least during the week. So I think overall we would have done like quite a few. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's mainly maths exams that I spammed a lot.
Those are the ones you can really gun through. Yeah.
Yeah. I usually do like maybe 2 sets a week at most. I think I did three or four. I did 2 like VCAR ones, 2 sets, like exam 1 and exam 2, and maybe 1 or 2 company ones on top of that. I guess like that would make an exam a day because you do 80 maths exams if you count exam 1 and exam 2 as separate.
Yeah, I think it comes down to like your priorities. Like, do you believe that doing those exams will give you the confidence to do well in the exam?
Yeah.
If that's what you believe, then go for it. And if you think, oh, I don't have that much time, I could be better spent doing some other subject, that's like perfectly fine. It's not going to make you less competent necessarily.
Yeah, so I guess it's sort of you can't really help. Some people just treat it as a competition. It's not up to you to change their mentality. You probably can't. You just gotta find alternative sources to improve. And if they're the type of people who say that, they're probably not the type of people you want helping you anyway. I just feel like it's unnecessary. Like, yeah, say you get a good score, like, but at what cost? I feel like it's that moral part is lacking.
Yeah, because like especially with English and Lit or any of this humanities stuff, it's like it's meant to be a bit of a journey, right? Well, at least I think it is. And so you go from the start of year being like, okay, how am I going to do any of this? And then towards the end of year, everyone's sort of in it together. That's how ideally I imagine a year like this would go. But of course, things don't go to plan, especially with COVID. Uh, but yeah, it's I think it's so important to actually be engrossed and enjoying what you're doing and thinking, actually being in like engaging in how you can sort of write an essay, how you can sort of discuss the ideas of a text, um, and sort of having those sort of what do you call them interlinking between people, sort of communication about like what they think, what do you think, you might come up with something new. That's the main thing that makes this whole thing worthwhile. Otherwise, like maybe just do like English language or something. Honestly, I don't mean that, but yeah,
Yeah, for me personally, looking back, I'm still amazed at how inspired I was in year 12. I think year 12 I had phenomenal classes, phenomenal people around me, phenomenal teachers. And I was just like, I was just loving it. I was like loving just having everyone in the class, everyone different abilities, different backgrounds, all working towards the same goal. I felt really connected and really enjoyable. All right, next question is what exam score do you need 50,
yeah.
45, 40? So generally for a
Ooh.
50, I'd say you need 57 to 60. 45, don't know. 40, I think if you go to, there's like statistics on VCAR, on the VCAR website, and they show you what you need to get an A plus, and A plus is 40, essentially. So you can just find that. Your exam rankings do matter a bit, also. Um, yeah. All right. What else? Advice on how Lucia should use her, or they should use their term 3 holidays.
Um, definitely like there's more time than you actually think, right? Or not. What do you think, Darren? I think there's enough time to get confidence and ready.
Yeah, I think you
But
don't want to think to yourself like,
yeah,
I want to like get a ton of things done. It's gonna be like the most productive at the end of the holidays. I'm gonna be like,
that's
like,
just not going to happen,
yeah.
right?
Really clarify where you want to be at the end of the holidays. Clarify what you want to do. If you don't clarify, you will just wait around in the mud and not be able to get what you want. If you figure out what you want to get done by then that will serve you well. Like you will have
Yeah,
a practical plan to act upon.
I think the worst position is to be like having a lot of subjects that you're not quite ready for, and they're all coming up, and you don't know which one to put your eggs into, right? That's like the worst thing to have. And and I don't know, like I guess that way you how to deal with that would be like look, think about like what you want from each subject, and like if something you can sort of afford to not spend that much on, decide that from the start and don't go any further with that. Right? Know where you should set your boundaries.
Yeah. Also, a point on like now that I'm in uni, I realized I was especially fortunate in high school in that like there's never a point where I was like really behind in my work, but in uni that has happened. And so the way I think to like get out of that hole is that you just got to get started, right? So how do you like for 400 meters, if you've ever run it, is really tiring. So how do you run 400 meters? If say like how do I say? It? if I gave you a whole day to run 400 meters, the easiest thing would be to stay on top of it. You do like one every like 2 hours or something like that, one every 3 hours. But if like you procrastinate, whatever, and you only have an hour left and you have 400s to run, how do you do it? You don't do it by like sitting there and like complaining and getting sad. You do it just by running the first one. So you really just got to put your head down, get started. Once you finish the first one, you'll be like, okay, I'm partway through the journey. Then I'll do the next one. So if you have a lot to do, the best way to do it is just bash through the first thing and slowly cut down at that to-do list.
Yeah, that was like me with the exams last semester. It's just like, I barely learn anything. Where do we start? I just go like through Anki and like, okay, we can do this, we can do this. That's not too bad. And after like a while, it was like, it's not too much after all. Maybe metabolism is a bit hard. Other than that, though, like, there's not much to worry about.
Where you start
Yeah.
is not as important as starting. Like just pick somewhere and just do it. Like the legit. If you have a lot to do, just pick something, just learn it. Just get good at it.
Exactly. Yeah.
What do you enjoy the most about uni, Alex?
Well, there's not much happening these days, is there? I do like some of the group tutorial we have, which is pretty unique, I think.
Yeah.
Just like the common tutorial we have the same class for the whole year, the same group of people, and you really get to know them pretty well. We have not had that much time in person, but like, yeah.
Yeah.
That's been a highlight.
I enjoy it as well. I like anatomy and limbs and muscles and nerves and that kind of thing. I just like
Anatomy?
learning about the body. Yeah, I quite enjoy that. Not so much like things you can't see, like how your brain gets like signals which tell your hand to move. Like I don't find that as helpful.
But the lecturer compensates.
Yeah, yeah. We both do med, by the way. But I also enjoy the freedom that uni has. I can do YouTube. I can chill out. I don't have to like, I don't know, grind like 24/7. All right, sensitive topic. Roughly, where were we ranked for English? Well, it doesn't matter now.
Oh,
Doesn't matter now.
sensitive? No, it's not sensitive. I mean, do you want to start? So
Were you 3?
I was like 3, and you were 1 equal.
No,
Equal
I was
one.
2.
Oh, yeah, equal 2.
Yeah.
It's
No,
just
no,
like,
I was not equal. I was just 2.
oh yeah, 2. The only 2, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Nah, but like we all got the same score in the end, and the same SAC score, which is shows that's not a big deal either.
Oh, what were our SAC scores? Did it get scaled to like 100 or something?
Yeah, I got scared to 100.
Oh, nice. Yeah, so I don't know. It's like once you get a good SAC score, don't get complacent.
Once you're in the top bracket, I think it gets pretty secure.
Yeah.
If you're like trailing a little, I think exam is quite important then.
I have a good friend who is also really good at Latin. He was ranked 30 something. He got a 57 in the exam, same score as me. He got a 49 in the end for English. Ranked 30 something. So there you go.
This makes a difference.
Do your teachers tell you where you're ranked? Yeah. So some schools don't, I've realized from people I tutor. I don't know why. And also some people do like, they don't give you a score. They give you like very high or something, which I think is extremely weird. I think they should just tell you your score and tell you what rank you are, like, because yeah. But I also think it's not good to obsess too much over it, because like, but knowing, like, getting sad about your rank isn't gonna get you anywhere, even though it is an understandable like emotion to have. So what are your plans for the future?
I'd say. I guess medicine will take us for the next 5 years, basically. We're still first year's medicine, so I guess it's not really decided, especially before you even go into clinical placements. But yeah, it's pretty much down that road.
Medicine as well. Probably surgery. I think I don't know why. I just really like the idea of surgery. I just like it, and I feel like I'd be good at it. Apart from that, I do want to continue YouTube, and I want to do other stuff as well.
Yeah.
Like, I haven't quite decided, and it will need time to come to fruition. But like tutoring. I want to
Yeah,
continue
I
things
feel
like that.
like surgery would be pretty cool. Like it's so hard to get in. I don't know. It's up to the individual.
It's honestly just time. Like you just cop like a couple more years if you're not as I don't know
That is
successful.
true. Yeah, but also like yeah, sort of had to like get to know some people. I think I don't know.
Oh really? Oh, okay.
You sort of like find a mentor and stuff like that.
Yeah.
SAC scores wise, yeah, there's a thing where you can scale the SAC scores, like depending on how your school does. So your scores might be brought up in the actual measuring of the study score by Vika.
Yeah.
If your school does well, all of your school does well, and
Don't
that's why
worry.
the incentive is to have your whole school do well, right?
Yeah. Don't like legit. Don't worry about it. Like knowing it's not going to help you at all. And I know it seems like you might do better if you know like the mechanics of it. Legit not helpful. And confusing and will mess with your brain and is unnecessary. Latin my SAC scores
Yeah,
got
for
scaled
English,
down.
so not worth it. So not worth it. And literature, even more. Like it's literally not even a factor.
Latin, I'm pretty sure my SAC scores got scaled lower than someone who got a lower study score than me, and I was a higher rank than them. So it just doesn't
Yeah.
make sense. And I got like a good score in the end. It was just confusing. I don't even know. So just don't worry
Uh,
about it.
yeah.
So if you flunk your tests but you ace the exam, yeah, of course you can. But like, yeah, I mean now at this point you probably know if you flunked or not. So it's best thing to do is just do best in the exam. But I don't really think about that like long term. It's sort of a last resort. Like you finish all your SACs, you're like, okay, they didn't go that well. Time for me to ace the exam.
Missed exam, yeah. Oh, so what did I score in the UCAT?
UCAT, sir.
Have you, hey?
Nothing. I just said UCAT.
UCAT, mate. Oh, I do not want to think about things. I did do pretty well though. I got 3,150, if that matters at all. But honestly, yeah, it's such a coin toss in the end. It even depends like where you go for a test and what day you go. It's like, who knows?
Yeah. What's the English prereq, by the way? Subjects we tutor. I tutor.
Is this for med?
I don't know. I don't think there's an English prereq for med. Is there?
Maybe it's like 30 something.
Oh, okay. Subjects we tutor. I tutor English, Englang, like younger year levels, public speaking, debating, English, maths, and one other thing. I'm pretty sure I tutor maths as well, but I don't remember.
He's pretty sure he doesn't remember.
No, I don't think I tutor maths. Just English and English language. Oh, Latin. I tutor Latin as well.
Oh, so with the UCAT stuff, I like it's kind of confusing. But basically, there's different tests that they have. They have like 5 different tests that are different depending on like because they can't have everyone doing the same test, right? And some of them might be easier in one section. Or it's like it's really up to chance. Yeah. So what do I tutor? I think I just limit myself just to English and Lit. All year levels though. So happy to do. Just it's something I sort of enjoy doing.
With Faraz's question, Alex and I both did Spesh, by the way, in case you didn't know. Yeah, I did spam questions. Like that's legitimately what you do. You do questions, learn from them. Do more questions, learn from them. That's how you get better at maths.
Yeah.
Cool. If there's no more questions, we'll end it at 10:35. If there are no
Yeah,
more
sure.
questions by then. Thank you, Alex, for joining me in the English stream.
Been a great stream. Yeah.
Just for things, playbacks, I don't know what that means. I think that's similar to views, 617. Average watch time, 6 minutes and 5 seconds. So if you consider how long our stream's gone for, and average person watches for 6 minutes, like a lot of people have watched it. So you've touched the lives of a lot of people, Alex.
That's good to hear. Wow.
Secret study tips.
Study tips. He's waiting for the final. Like, secret study tip. Play games, and then study when you feel ashamed of yourself.
What did you say? What was your secret study tip?
Play games and then study when you feel ashamed of yourself.
Don't listen to it. Don't. You can do that in uni. Don't do it in VC. All right, you can do it in uni. What would I say? Secret study tips. Ah. I don't really have any. I think overall in the year, you got to cater your studying. Like, don't feel like you have to have a set of notes for every single subject. Each subject's different. Each part of each subject's different, and make sure you adapt your study techniques to different parts of even the same subject. Apart from that, I'd say like get motivated. Get like a constant source of motivation, hopefully, and that will help you. Like whether there's someone you want to be like, um, some person, a friend you have that you see is really hardworking, might be some person you aspire to be, some profession you want to be, and I think that will drive you as well. And also regret. Regret's just a big one. I don't know. Hopefully, it can motivate you. Motivated me a lot.
There's negative feelings.
I90, I90.
I know he's watching us.
You guys subscribe to Max Fang's YouTube channel. It's Max, like like Pepsi Max, and Fang is in like that tiger has fangs.
Nice.
And what would you say about the content, Alex, if you've seen any of the videos?
In Max's videos.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty good. I love his detailed, long sort of time videos, and just goes on about like American uni stuff, which is really interesting.
You can tell even though his body is in Australia, his heart is already in the US.
He's already in there, man.
Should I just wing the chem exam? No. I don't know if it was like us last year, but last year my chem, I think it was the same for Alex, but we had a weekend before the chem exam, and that was our last exam as well. So definitely prepare for the chem exam then, and don't wing anything. Like I'm pretty sure unless you're me, or like someone who did 2 subjects in year 11, every subject counts. So I don't think you should wing it. And for Felix, I'm not sure whether you did 2, 3, 4s, but like you want to do decently, like in any of your subjects, and you have enough time to do so as well. How'd you do the chem? What'd you get in chem actually?
40.
Same as Ichen. Same as the Jang
And
man.
yeah, I thought I did okay, but yeah. Well, my ranking was like pretty stodgy as well. Anyway, I90s on the other hand was a bit too far gone, I think.
I90. He was in my class as well. I90. Him and Peters. Front row. I90. Oh, I have a picture of me and my chem teacher. Oh yeah, the Badora. Being in a stronger cohort increases your chance of getting hired. I mean, yeah, like in many different aspects. SAC scaling, motivation, and probably your school's good as well if your cohort's like good. But I don't think it's something to concern yourself with. It's not something you can really change. Unless you're in like year 7 or something and you want to move schools. But you just focus on working hard. And I know a lot of people who have done exceptionally well and didn't come from high performing schools.
It says you're lagging a little. Or is it the stream?
Yeah, it's the stream. I like go back and forth a bit. Like, how do I say this? Every time I move to the YouTube comments, the stream lags.
Oh.
Let me just... Okay, I'll read the comments on my phone then. Might be better. Yeah, do you want to answer some questions, Alex? I think there's still a couple more.
So, Lucia, about the good A time, a lot of people being out there who might seem smarter and better. I think obviously something that might console you is that it is definitely more of a hard work thing than it is about talents and people sort of being just instinctively better at a subject. In the end, I find like so much more happens like in the process of working through practice rehearsing things and doing the proper preparation. And sure, the people who are talented, a lot of them actually do work hard because they want to keep their talent, like their dominance in that subject. But also like well, it's actually quite, especially maybe in subject like English, it's not too hard to actually like build a very solid foundation for this exam and actually do quite well, even despite like because a lot of people who don't get like the top high like study scores still did really well in the exams, but it was just a matter of like they didn't do that well during the year, and in that way, it's quite sort of like it ramps up towards the end of the year in that way. So I think that the VC study design for English tries a little to cater to that with like people who sort of got off to a rocky start and then got better throughout the year. That's how it's sort of tailored. That you don't. It doesn't matter if you didn't focus or like do the hard work at the start, but you started working. And I think there's a lot of confidence to be had from that. Just that the belief that the system wants you to work hard and succeed.
Better and smarter people. Let me just say that I used to be pretty obsessed with this because I was like top dog. So it's like you want to keep that, right? And you meet people who are smart and talented and that kind of thing. What I would say is I sort of stopped caring. Like I don't really care if you're like a child genius or if you like did some great thing when you were in like year six or something. Like good for you, right? You have your own life. You do your own thing. I want you to be successful. But it's sort of like that has nothing to do with me, right? I'm never gonna be you, that person. I have my own assets. I have my own strengths. Let me capitalize the most. Let me improve on myself a bit every day and be proud of myself. I know, and I understand with you guys because I was, especially in like things like swimming, I was in that top tier as well, and in studies as well. You meet like a lot of really talented people. You hear people who are like exceptionally high achievers, and you sort of like you're sort of in a daze. You're like, what would it be like to be like them? You get lost in their story, sort of. But I think it's really important to just focus on your own story, focus on you getting better every day, on what you have. They probably have their own problems, and even if they're like really perfect, you're not them. You have your own background, you have your own people you've met, all that kind of thing. And don't feel like you should want to trade that in. Focus on yourself and improving every day. But I do definitely empathize with that feeling of, there is smarter people, there are so many amazing people. How can I ever do well? I do understand that, even as someone who did well.
Yeah, definitely.
Elham, I think like if you don't like your school, honestly, and if you are able to move, then move. Like, if the reasons to move are greater than the reasons to stay, then just move. VC is a pretty big deal. Um, but also be aware of like blaming everything on your school. Is it you? Is it like your study techniques, things like that? Could you do well at this school? Have there been people who have done well at this school? But of course, if it really is this school, then speak to your parents. And it's a pretty big decision, but a worthwhile one. If you if you like take everything important into consideration.
Mm.
Next, a very applicable question for Alex Fan. Have you gotten your vaccines? And if you have, how did you feel?
Okay. Yeah, I got mine just on Friday, which is pretty lucky actually, because I was like refreshing the page to get a booking on Friday, and then it just came up to happen to be on Friday. So like I got a booking on Friday when I was like like when I was trying to book. So I went straight in like 2 hours after I booked, and I got it, and it was like pretty easy. There were a lot of people going, so like I think they said in the last few days it just like got to like astronomical numbers of people trying to get vaccinated. Um, yeah, it was pretty quick comparatively, seeing as there were so many people. And look, I had like a tiny bit of soreness, and it's still a little bit sore, like on the left arm. Actually, it's almost gone now. But I had like a bit
Arm
of a
flexion,
fever last night, so I was like feeling pretty hot and heavy. Other than that, nothing too bad.
hot and heavy. Sounds just like
Hot and
beauty.
heavy.
Just like Somax's horse in the heat. Yeah, I got my vaccine a while ago. like a while ago, like a couple 4 weeks. I'm getting my second vaccine in like a couple days. Um, yeah, I didn't have any side effects. My left arm was just really sore. for like a while, and he was like quite sore, but no side effects. I think I was pretty. I had a nap that afternoon, but I don't know whether it was because of that or because I was just because sometimes I just like sleep because I'm tired. I don't know if it was just a coincidence or whether it was caused by the vaccine.
Correlation.
False correlation.
I'm sure the pop health guys would be all over that.
What's that phrase? There was like a phrase. Oh no, I don't even know. It's like coincidence versus incident or something.
Causation or correlation.
Oh yeah. Elham, do you know where I can do a subject out of school? Oh, I think you contact Oh, far out. I don't remember. Send me a message, and I might be able to find out. I know some of my
Yeah.
students are doing it. Do you know anything about it, Alex?
No, not really. I remember with Chinese, obviously, some people do that.
I think it's
But other than
distance.
that, I don't really know how it works. Yeah.
I think it's called distance education. Chinese is different, I think, because it's like very organized outside. Like it's like there's a
Yeah.
big organization. Whereas for other ones, I think it's called distance ed. It's much less structured than school, but I think it gives you the ability to take subjects outside. But definitely find out people who have done it in the past and ask them. How much did you study term 3 holidays? Like just any time I could, I'd study. We had COVID as well, so not like we could go out. So I just study whenever I wasn't tired or procrastinating.
Yeah, you just want to like push yourself a little. Just try and push yourself as much as you can to do like that one extra paper. Don't go too hard in like making like a plan or everything like that. If you feel like that's not you. If you're a super organized person, yeah, that's probably like something you might do. But if you've never done something like make a study planner and think about what you're going to do for every hour of the day, it's probably not going to work too well for you.
Yeah. All right, there are a couple other questions. You go for it. I'm just gonna message Arnadi.
What is the hardest VC subject? Oh, I really don't know. So much to think about comparing. Look, what comes to mind? Latin, Spech, maybe literature. I don't know. The ceiling's quite high for literature, I think. Any other languages?
Wait, give me a sec. Alex, can you add Max to the call?
Yeah.
I'll get him in the stream.
Get him in the call.
Yeah.
Sure.
So we'll get Arnadi in the call. You guys can feel free to ask questions about international stuff, but we'll be answering like the rest of your questions as well. He did 1590 on the SAT, which was the same as Bill Gates, as someone said. He's going to U Chicago in soonish. But yeah, add him to the call, and I will need to crop this to make it work. But
let's do this.
just give us a second. Bear with us. I think Max is on mute for me.
Are we gonna see the green screen?
Oh my god, that is horrendous.
Give me a second. I need to transform it.
It's afraid.
Give me a second. Yeah, so feel free to ask international questions with Max because it's kind of his thing. Alright, let me transform this. Edit transform. I need to crop the top a bit less. Yeah, feel free to go with the questions. Hardest VC subject, what do you think, Max?
People do Chinese.
Hardest VC subject? For me, probably one of the STEM ones, but I don't think that's the case for other people. Maybe like the hardest one to like get a hold of is probably literature if you're not good at it. But like
lit's hard.
Lit is hard, but I feel like lit is like a bit intuitive. So if you're just good at it, you're just good at it. But like the hardest one to study for, I feel like the hardest one to study for is definitely one of the ones like Spech or something because I'm not good at math. But
I'm gonna go with a subject that all three of us have taken, and that is Chinese. I think Chinese is pretty hard, honestly.
It's a good pick, honestly. But
Chinese
is
just
sus, dude. It's just sus.
Suspicious, very suspicious subject, especially the way it's ran as Scotch. Very suspicious.
Wait, did you have a massive haircut, Max? It's like you've
Yeah. Because
Oh yeah,
I was holding
I
out
heard about
to
that.
America, but then my hair got so long I couldn't stand it, so I just got it at home from my mum.
He wanted to cut his hair. Wanted to cut his hair in America. The American haircut experience.
You know, my mum showed me a photo.
Oh yeah, I think my mum probably posted it on like WeChat or something. Cringe, absolute cringe. But
All right, next question. What was it? Oh, do you think I should get my second dose because it would be too close to exams? It's more like how close to exams it is, but definitely not like the day before or even 2 days before. I recommend like yeah, like honestly, because you don't really know what will happen. It's best to be safe.
Depends on how the first dose was, I think.
I didn't have any side effects after the
First dose
second
was
dose.
okay, yeah.
It was kind of funny, but don't if you have like an exam immediately the next day, don't get it like the day before and rock up with like a massive fever to like your English exam or something. Don't do that.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
yeah.
Definitely depends on what exam you have. If it's like not an important exam, just cop it. Get it morning of and just gamble.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah, Max. I guess this question's for you.
Why are you choosing to study in America? I don't know. I feel like I didn't really have a direction out of high school like a lot of other people. I know Alex, you're doing med, right? Darren's doing med.
Yeah.
Alex, are you doing med?
Oh, he doesn't know.
You are doing med.
Shade.
Look, listen, but I wasn't sure what I was gonna do, and because in Australia you have to like immediately declare a major, and I didn't want to do that. So that was part of why I wanted to go to America. And the other part is, I have American citizenship, so it's sort of like a natural choice to head over.
Did your parents study?
America's pretty.
Did your parents study in America?
No, they study in China.
They're from China.
Oh, okay. Oh, you did Chinese in year 10? Dang. Oh, same year as me. Same year as me and Alex, like 2019. Yeah, the translation.
Yeah, and all three of us did a Chinese in 2019, right?
Oh yeah.
Very
Did you do?
suspicious.
Wait, that's pretty crazy.
Which language? Your last name's not Chinese, first of all. But I don't know. I'm just curious. And did you do SL or SLA? I am curious. But our translations,
Guessing
both our
SL.
translations were messed. Like I lost so many marks, and I didn't even know why in translation.
No, they weren't in the dictionary, mate. We had ones that weren't in the dictionary. Yeah.
Hey, bye.
The exam in 2019
remember-
was kind of suspicious. It was like a bunch of like chungy that you had to translate for like just as a list. It was very weird, but
Was it 天知地知你知我知?
yeah. They just had like 6
Go on.
like side by side, and it wasn't even like in the
Yeah.
context of the passage. It was just like they were talking about like chungy, and then they just like put 6. Like
I don't think the examiners cared. They were just like, let's just be like they're having a conversation about Chengyu, and then we just shove in like 6. Oh, by the way, I was talking about English study groups before, but like I looked fondly upon our like Discord calls with Tom as well, like us 4. It was really enjoyable.
Yeah. But you weren't here for the golf, mate.
you weren't, you didn't play golf with friends afterwards, so you missed out. But
Which uni? I go to Monash with Alex.
Yeah.
Fam looks naked.
I don't know. You do look kind of yellow. I don't know.
I am in the throes of a first dose. Pfizer. I mean, surely give me some slack for that.
There was one Discord where Alex was yellow. Like his whole room was yellow. And this was
My camera always does that, right?
yeah. Yeah, unis for you for Max, I guess, more so.
Oh, right.
Oh yeah. I'm going to University of Chicago. Chicago, obviously.
I've gotten so many like videos on my YouTube now to do with it's like aspiring YouTubers as well. It's like some of them have like 2K views or like 4K views, and it's like how I got into Chicago. There's a girl who got in this year I saw on YouTube. A girl. I don't know her name. She's wearing glasses, but yeah, I watched part of that video and I was like, right.
A lot of them are the same. Like they just talk about what they did, and it's not really applicable to like you individually. Like you don't want to try to copy like what they do just because they got it. So it doesn't really matter that much. I say as I have videos about how I got into Chicago, but
Oh, that's impressive. You're half, yet you still do Chinese in year 10. I think that's pretty rare.
Yeah.
Even doing Chinese in year 10 is like very rare. I'm
man,
curious.
if I had a choice to go back, I wouldn't have done Chinese. I would have done something else.
What would you have done? Further maths.
Like, I don't know, but something that's not Chinese, like maybe another language or something. I would have just
Unichem.
continued like German. I don't know.
Unichem.
Yeah. Barely passing the chem exam. Quite epic.
Oh, so in uni, have you decided all your subjects now for uni?
They're supposed to come out like in 2 days, but I mean, I pretty much know what they are. They're not finalized, but they haven't changed in like a month, so it's probably just gonna be that. They put me in a higher math class, even though I signed up for a lower one. So
Didn't you do well in like the testing? Like
yeah, but I didn't want to do like a higher level math because it's not like I did that well in special year 12. So I was like, I should just like start over and relearn everything, but they didn't let me. So
you want to just start out. You want to be like the big dog in like a, you know, in lower maths.
no, calculus 2 is like half spec and half like new stuff, like a little bit of new stuff. So
I see.
it would have been interesting, but I'm in Calc 3 and it's going to be totally new stuff, and I'm not even good at like Calc 2. So
Thoughts on biomed? What do you guys think?
Biomed? We've got a couple of friends doing that. They're doing pretty well, I think.
Tom's doing biomed, isn't he?
Yeah, Tom is.
Is he doing well?
I think he's doing pretty well, like
Objective.
relatively speaking.
Yeah, I mean he should do relatively well though. He's like above average. Like
Well, yeah, obviously, but like I don't know, he was like missing classes in the first semester. I don't know how he's doing now, but
Yeah, I think biomed definitely valid. Do you want to have like a general idea of what you want to do in the next couple of years though? Because it can tend to be like, oh, you've done a degree, but it's like not clear what pathway you're going on.
yeah, there's
It's my
a bit more
experience with that,
flexibility.
yeah.
You can go in like either direction. Like if you want to go in like a chem direction or like a medicine direction.
Yeah, definitely. So like more research oriented or like clinical stuff.
I would say biomed is very busy though. You have like tests like very often, and it's quite competitive. Like because a lot of people want to get into med, and it's legit a competition. Like we all want to work together. It's not the case, not the case in biomed. So it will be quite competitive. Yeah, something to be aware of.
Is biomed busy? I thought Tom was just busy because he also does like
No, because they have to
testing
keep up
and
with their exam. Because they have to keep up with their exam scores, like their WAM, to actually get a chance
true.
into getting into med.
Yeah.
Otherwise, like, yeah.
I think Tom's doing fine. He's doing fine. I mean,
Yeah, I hope so.
I don't think he wants to get into med though, does he?
Yeah,
Otherwise
I
he would have
think
done
so,
Monash
yeah.
med because he got in.
no, he got in the he didn't get in like the direct like thing. He got into like the second tier, whatever.
yeah.
I don't actually know what it is, but yeah, he didn't want to like. It was either like he got into like the direct thing or he doesn't go. So
No, he got into direct, but it was just like he got bonded, I think, which means after he graduates, he's like the government tells him where to work for a little bit, which isn't that bad.
Yeah.
But
Honestly, isn't. Yeah. How strict are the uni exams? Well, we've just got online ones. They're just pretty like standard online, of course. But there's like they've got surveillance, of course. So you can't just cheat.
do you guys have surveillance? You guys have surveillance?
Yeah.
Listen, I did one semester at Melbourne Uni at the start of the year, and I didn't have any exams, but like I was with all the Melbourne Uni kids, and we were like talking about exams, and apparently like none of the exams were proctored except for math. So like you could just like cheat and get away with it like all the time.
Yeah, I guess with those subjects. Yeah.
but why didn't you have exams?
I took 2 subjects that were assignment based. It was creative writing, right? Because I wasn't doing anything seriously, so it was creative writing and some like developing world studies or something. So it was just essays and no like timed exams.
Ah, I see. If you guys have any other questions, drop them. I think we have like 31 people watching, so feel free to ask. This is your chance to see someone who's going overseas. You're leaving on the 20th, right?
21st.
21st.
Like morning of 21st.
Yeah. We'll see in digital form, hopefully.
Go to Deacon's Amazon. They don't even take photos of the rooms. Yeah, I don't think Melbourne did that either. Like, I'm pretty sure there were kids that just like went to each other's houses and like did the exam together and like told each other answers. I'm pretty sure that was something that happened. So
yeah, I think Med was fairly strict. We had to like show our rooms, record it.
Yeah.
And there was something monitoring our faces and stuff. If we go to the toilet, we have to like say we're going to the toilet and that kind of thing.
I don't know. I feel like med and like all the other subjects are like different, like completely different worlds.
Yeah.
It's like it has like strictness and stuff. Like
Yeah.
just like all the other subjects they don't really care about, but if you like cheat in med, like immediate like death.
They do hold your hand a lot in med in terms of like results. They're like, oh, you know, like this is COVID. You guys are performing, you know, just as well as people who are not in COVID, and like, you know, you just need to pass. It's pass fail. And yeah, quite.
Yeah, med is pass fail, but it's ungraded, most of it.
I'm curious to hear what pathway Max wants to get into.
Is it journalism?
Journalism.
I don't know.
That's just studying, obviously.
Not something that's like STEM or like math or like computer science or something. So not really anything sciencey.
Yeah.
Like I said, I didn't really have a direction out of high school, so I'm still like considering a lot of stuff. And in America, at least in my school, you don't have to declare a major until after a couple of years. So there's still time for me to figure out something. And right now I'm leaning towards like something humanities. Like Chicago has good economics course, or like political science, or like things like that. So yeah, both of you guys are doing med, right? So that's pretty clear.
I think med's just like a good like constant job that you can do till you're like really old. But I'd like other stuff as well. Like I don't want to just be like a doctor for like 50 years and then like retire. Like yeah. Oh, what did you think of the picture? Did you see the picture I sent of I showed this stream of Sir Max's horse?
No, I didn't see that. I wasn't there.
Witness.
Pick it up again.
What? That's not a horse. That's like a donkey or something.
No, it's Beauty. It has a name.
It's a mule.
I don't remember the name of Sir Max's horse.
What?
Ow.
Like, I remember like nothing from anything I learned in year 12.
One thing in comparative is some things are a bit of a stretch. I remember like some teacher telling us, right? It's like, you know, the stag is an animal. Beauty, the donkey is an animal. And I'm like, there's literally like nothing similar about them. Like we're not going to compare them.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
I don't know. I feel like you can sort of, like, it's like a plausibility thing. Like, if you can somehow link two things together that probably don't really make sense together, but if you can somehow explain it in a way that makes sense, like, they'll just accept it. So.
Exactly, yeah.
And, like, if you manage to do it well, it'll be, like, unique because no one else said anything about that. So.
Oh, by the way, for Max's like VC, for context a bit on Max, we all graduated from the same school, same year level. And Max did English and Lit, and like kind of similar subjects to us, I guess.
Which subject did I not? You did Latin and I did Lit. Yeah, other than that, pretty much all the same, right?
I did Eng-Lang.
Yeah, I had MF.
Oh, you did Eng-Lang, yeah.
Oh, I did one more subject than you two though, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, my subjects are the same as Alex, almost.
Yeah. We just had different classes for everything.
Yeah, your lit class was stacked, man. Stacked with like Cluco, Alex Fan, Alan, Jay.
Gerald Fu, mate. Gerald Fu.
Radio.
Oh yeah, Gerald was in your class as well. I didn't know, even though he like continued with lit. I don't even remember that.
Neil Poor.
Hey Neil, what's up?
Loving it.
Yeah. Comparative essay sack. Advice on last minute prep. What would you guys say?
Yeah, planning is a good idea. That's where you start. Yeah. If you really don't have time, planning is probably enough. Yeah, just like so. What a good plan is to have like first of all, what 1, 2, 3 BPs, and then you want to have like the pair you're gonna do, and then hopefully you have some experience about what you're gonna write about, and not like you have a BP about it. And then you have quotes. So try to get at least those couple of things planned out.
Ideally, you
have
hope.
an essay.
Ideally, you should have been doing this throughout like the whole year, but yes, last minute prep is also good. But I think for comp, there's like a bit of mixing and matching. Like no matter what topic you do, there's a couple of like body paragraphs that are always going to be applicable. So if you can figure out the majority of what you're writing for those, it'll be quite good.
What do you think you two should have done better in your comparative stack?
Oh,
what did I get in my
many
comparative?
things.
I don't remember, but yeah, I think I don't know, just like write less because I started running out of time. But other than that, I don't know.
Alex?
Max, you were chilling, man. You were chilling through VC.
I was chilling through VC. I was chilling throughout like the first 3 quarters of the year, and then the last quarter I almost died. So don't do what I did.
Yeah, I would have sort of balanced English and Lit better, I think, because I just got a bit panicky towards the end, I think, because I was like, oh, which one, basically, and then sort of had to talk with the teachers a bit like how I should sort of start figuring things out and going through things one at a time. Because I was like, man, I can't even write a full Lit essay like weeks before the exam, and like English, I'm running out of time, and then just I wish like I had done a bit more time stuff before exams started rolling around, and I was like, well, there's 2 bloody writing subjects coming up like 1 week between each other, and I'm like struggling by time. So I think if I had sort of pushed a bit harder in the like before the term 3 holidays with writing, then I would have been more confident with the literature, and then English would have been like smooth sailing because I didn't have to stress about literature. But
I
guess
remember
it's
because like we did the practice exams, right, and like a bunch of people came out of it. Like they only wrote like half an essay for the second one or something. It was
literature. I screwed up every practice exam almost.
Yeah, I remember you guys, like, I went to one of the Lit, like, debriefs when you gave back your exams, and everyone did, like, bad, apart from Kluko. Kluko got, like, 2 19s. I think everyone else just did bad. Like,
I got 18, 18, 18, I think.
Oh, okay, never mind.
No, or 18, like double 18s. But it's not like I did that well on the exam anyways, like the actual exam. So
Yeah.
If you go back and do VC again, what would you or wouldn't you do differently? Probably study more. Like that's for me.
Sleep more.
And play games less. There you go. Play games less. Don't play golf with friends after like a 30-minute English study session. Like
that wasn't even your main course, mate. You were watching all the chess streams.
Oh yeah. But like, no, golf with friends was like because your friends are there and you feel like obligated to stay. But then like it goes until like 3 a.m. and like you realize you didn't get any work done.
Yeah, I would say I wish I studied harder for chem. That's my only, I guess, kind of regret from year 12. Because I think Max can agree our teacher was excellent. And so I feel bad not, like, bringing back results
chem?
to show that. Yeah, for
You
chem.
mean Peters? Yeah, Peters was pretty epic. He's funny. Like, in like a really, like, dry way, he was very funny.
Yeah.
Who is this guy? Who's Samet Sandhu? Max, socialism or capitalism? Is this because I said political science? I'm a social democrat, so there you go.
You can find him on Twitter.
You can find me on Twitter where I tweet about tennis.
Yeah, I saw Max's, like, Instagram story, like, yesterday. 3 Instagram stories in a row. I was like, this is some YouTube. Maybe he's got a video out. And then I see it's, like, tennis. Some girl, like, got into, like, some final or something. I was like, all right. What was it? Was she like not ranked or something? And she got into.
It was US. Yeah, she was ranked really low, and she went through. Yeah, she had to go through like qualifying, and like, she hasn't lost a set yet, so I'm rooting for her. Also, she's like Chinese.
Oh really?
Like ethnicity, like half Chinese.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Where are you guys from? I assume you're all Chinese. Which part are you from? I'm from California.
Nice.
I don't know. That was a question. I answered it.
I was fine. I was born in Melbourne then. If we're going this route, I was born in Melbourne.
Well, yeah. Okay. Well. Yeah. Go,
What am I
Alex.
supposed to say?
Born in the Battlelands.
What on the Rift?
But if you're talking about like where we're from China, like I lived in Shanghai for like half my life. So Shanghai, I guess.
My heritage, I think, is Guangzhou. Or Guangzhou, if you don't want to say it as a Western person.
Yeah. And I'm also from Shanghai, I think. My parents, not I think, but I know. My parents are from Shanghai.
Neil hopes you are well, Max.
Thanks, Neil. Yeah, I saw that.
He's a little
Thanks,
skinny,
Neil.
but I guess that's been a trend.
The 5-year 11s look, yeah, they're a bit crazy.
All in my class, by the way, might I say.
Who
No.
got 50s, right? Gordon got 50s, Josh Poon got 50.
Oh,
Josh
yeah.
Poon was previous year, wasn't he?
Yeah, so in my class,
Yeah.
we had Edmund Fang, Andreas, Richard Liu. Ryan Al wasn't in my class, but he also got a 50, plus Will McCann. Will McCann in my class. So 4 people, 4 of those got a 50 in my class. They were
Like
just
4
smart.
of them were year 11s, right? They were all like
Five of them were year 11s. Gordon was the only year 12.
Our class sucked, man.
And Yichen, right?
Oh, yeah, no. Whoops.
Oh yeah, Yu Chen also got 50. So it was more than 5 then.
Oh,
5 year 11s.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't read that right.
Yeah, Gordon will hopefully get him on next week for a special. So tune in for that.
oh, that'd be juicy.
Big maths guy. Yeah, so how did they do that? I guess they were just smart, and just like
They
intelligent.
had
I mean,
one subject, basically.
yeah, and also we had a really good teacher, Mr. Woolcott. I don't know if you're watching this, but he was a really good teacher. I really appreciated him. He really like checked in on every student during even during COVID. Like he'd really check in on you, see how you're tracking. And he was really intelligent, teach you good ways of doing stuff, and also like stuff that would actually help you in the exam, rather than some teachers teaching you like random stuff.
Yeah, like a lot of kids are good at math, right? And like a lot of kids probably could get 50s, but like getting 50s, just they work super hard. Like they don't like necessarily show it, but they like seriously do like a ton of work. Like I remember Gordon, like we're like Gordon, like me and like Tom were like the trio from Forbes, right? And then like we're talking about like studying, and then like every time we'd be like, oh, I didn't study that much, but it turned out like Gordon did like 10 million practice papers, and he didn't say anything about them. So it's like, yeah, like you got to work hard for 50s. It's not like you can just be good. So
I think yeah, no, Max and like Tom were the classic duo. Like I swear, you know, even our English teacher said she came in and she's like to Max and Tom, I always see you two together. And I was like, I laughed so hard at that. They're just always together, jostling one another, elbowing one another. Yeah, it was just funny. Oh yeah, Felix's class. Yeah, it was best class. Woolcott probably, I've been saying, right, like Woolcott probably went back to like the meeting, right, and he's just like, he just walks in, like swaggers in, like as he knows, the man knows what he has achieved, like first meeting, staff meeting.
Jeez, man.
You reckon teachers like brag to each other? It's like, wow, last year like 5 people in my class got 50s, and only 1 from yours got 50s. It's like,
Yeah. Surely
think-
Patel would, man.
I think you can see in their eyes. Oh, Patel will probably say it outright, but other teachers, their eyes. Yeah. And I was saying with English, right? Like Alex was his classes like light. Their beacon.
Oh yeah, Alex, you're in the class that had like didn't have a lot of like other good people, weren't you? You're in like whose
Yeah,
class were you
that
in?
was intentional, man.
Intentional, he says.
It's a bit obvious.
Wait, did you dox English in year 11? Was it you or
Yeah.
someone else? Yeah. What, they put the doxes in year 11 into like the bad class for year 12. That's how it
Yeah.
works. Because I got picked for, like
My
the
brother
big
told me
classes.
they
and-
did that with the lit cohort in his year.
They did that in our year as well. Look at your class
Oh,
and look
yeah,
at mine,
of
mate.
course.
Is there any
Specialty.
juicy gossip at your school, if you don't mind sharing? You guys are probably more connected with the Scotchies, so there
I
you
feel
go.
like
Here you go.
this is not the right forum for us to discuss
Yeah.
juicy gossip. But there's always like gossip at school. Nothing like terrible, I think. Nothing like, you know, like really bad. But there is stuff that like I don't know, it's just like people and conflict and things like that. But I don't think it's a good idea to discuss it here. Specialties, Alex. What specialty that are you interested in at the moment?
No idea. Look, I find surgery pretty interesting. Like anatomy, especially, got me pretty clicked with that. Before I was thinking about like some kind of pediatric stuff because I do find that kind of stuff like pretty interesting and engaging and fun to do.
Right.
Yeah,
For me,
yeah, that's it.
For me, surgery. I quite like the brain because it's like everything comes from the brain. Like there's so many consequences from it: personality, movement, speech, and so that's what I'm interested in the moment. It's pretty competitive, and I don't know like a ton about it at the moment, so I might change my
Like
mind.
neuroscience.
Neurosurgery.
Neurosurgery, man.
Oh,
The
you
ultra
mean
one.
you mean like specifically like the surgery part of the brain?
I like surgery and I like the brain, so yeah, kind of neurosurgery. Yeah.
Were you one of these kids that like the dissection we did in like bio in year 10? Like the sheep brain or whatever?
I don't remember doing that. Well, we did a dissection in med of a person, not a sheep.
I don't know. I remember I was paired with Josh Lee and I didn't want to do any of it. And he was very excited to do it. So I just let him do everything. But I didn't want to do it.
Oh yeah, he seems the kind like if he did because he's doing biomed, he might actually do anatomy.
Oh yeah. I think biomed people do also
Subject.
do
Yeah.
dissections and stuff.
Yeah, he'll probably like that.
Could you do more of these streams? Yeah, so I think next week we're doing Spesh. Week after I haven't decided, maybe Inglang or something. But there's like 7 weeks till exams, so I might do some exam twos and just really I haven't figured it out that far into the future yet. So if you guys have any ideas, let me know.
Have the oral language ones already like finished?
No, language
not?
orals are like not yet. They haven't started yet, I think. Yeah. So I haven't decided yet. I wanted to do an international video with Max, but it's just been so busy and like some of my other international friends have like gone already. So I don't know. Do you know how they're doing at all?
I don't know how. Like the last time I saw Jim Zhang, it was like an Instagram story about him and his girlfriend like doing long distance. I was like, okay, but Jim and David don't really post on like Instagram, and like Jim Zhang's like, I don't know, he doesn't post either. So I know I only see Prithvi. Prithvi went to like the art school in New York, right? And he's been chilling. He's enjoying life. So there you go.
I think that's something I'm a bit jealous of. Just America, you have like in person stuff, but I guess it also comes at a cost. So it's like, yeah, I guess that's like a political debate for another day. But America, all the schools in person, unis are in person.
Any tips for methods trying to get 40 plus roll?
We all
you
got
guys are
40
more
plus.
qualified to say this.
Did we all get 40 plus? You got 40 plus, right, Max?
I think I was 39.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but listen, it was like I wasn't even expecting to like get like as high as that because I did so bad in like all the STEM subjects. But like I got better in my STEM subjects and worse in my like subject that I was actually good at in the exams. So it was kind of funny. But yeah, you guys probably can answer this one. I mean, Darren, you got 50, right?
I got 46, mate. 46.
Oh yeah. Oh no.
Don't bring up that.
It's not easy. Man.
Overestimating you.
46. Any tips for methods? I think if you know the content and you do practice questions, like even if you're not aiming for say like a 50, you don't really need to do a ton of company ones, honestly. Just focus on the VCAR ones. Know how to do them. Know all your content, and I think you should probably be able to get a 40 plus. Knowing all the content and doing like all the VCAR exams. I think that's pretty sufficient.
Yeah, I think if you're aiming for higher, you might do some of the like company exams, like the harder ones. What was that? Kill something? Kill Baha or something?
Yeah, Kill Baha. No.
Kill Baha makes people want to kill themselves, but yeah, do the VCAR ones if you just want to get 40 plus.
Yeah, it's important to get like some consistency of like an idea of what you're going to score. Like you do the VCAR ones, see how well you're doing. You might like get better over like the duration. But to build that confidence is so important. So like have an idea of like, okay, I can assure something in this range of scoring because I've done these exams and I've done okay. And then after that, it's like how you perform on the day.
Yeah. What are you getting up to these days, Max?
I'm just getting ready to leave. Like I'm packing. I already sent like a parcel over and it's been collected already. So that's pretty good. I have to book like my travel COVID tests at like some place, and it costs like $145. It's like, okay, but yeah, very suspicious stuff.
Are you working on any YouTube videos at the moment?
I should be working on one right now, but I decided not to because to join the stream, you know.
No.
But yeah, I was sort of like waiting until like I got like a haircut, and now that I got a haircut, like probably do it like tomorrow or something.
Public versus private self.
Putting up an image for the boys and the girls who watch my videos.
What does that audio fidelity mean? Is my audio a bit weird or something? Also, Tim Duncan goes to Scotch, by the way. I'm pretty sure. Pretty sure he's a field kid, like year 12. But I don't want to say his real name in case he doesn't want it like online, but I'm pretty sure.
In audio, fidelity denotes how accurately a copy reproduces its source. He's probably talking about your voice on stream or something, I don't know.
Yeah.
Did any of you write up a study plan for the day or the week? I had a general idea of like which days I wanted to study for like what thing, but I didn't. It's not like I adhered to it that much. So there you go.
I did it.
We were advised to though. We were advised to like be very specific about like what we wanted to study, like down to like what topic you wanted to get done for English in this like 30 minutes. But I didn't do that. So
most times I had a general gist of what I wanted to do. So Latin, we got consistent homework, and it took a while. So I usually like to get that done either at lunch or.
Great.
Well,
I'm looking to buy.
Oh, at lunch or like straight after school. With my other subjects, if I had a lot to do, sometimes I would write down like a to-do list or something. But otherwise, I just sort of go with what I felt like doing. Yeah.
I get application questions and methods.
Application question. I think you just got to figure out like what stuff is referring to. Like sometimes the diagrams and stuff are confusing, the story is confusing. As you read each sentence, try and figure out like what exactly it's referring to. So when they say like, AB is the path he takes from the jungle to the trophy, look at AB and like be like, okay, so that's the path he takes, rather than just reading the whole question. I think they're frozen. I think they're frozen. Let me just text these guys. I think they are stuck. All right. Anyway, UMAP. What is that? Is that when you do a uni subject? Is that what it is? Oh, okay. I think you guys can you guys hear me? Just say yes if you can hear me. I will end the call and I'll try and fix this. Let me think. How will I solve this? All right, so you can hear me. That's great. Let me maybe All right, I don't think it's working. I'll give it a try for a couple more minutes. All right, I'll try and delete this, and I'll start another screen catcher. Just give me a second. And if this doesn't work, we'll probably call it a night. But thank you guys for tagging along. Leave any questions you have. I'm happy to answer it just over audio. All right, let me try and fix this then. All right, I assume you guys can hear me.
I don't.
All right.
Because I
think we're back. In
Oh,
business.
you're back. You're
Yeah.
back.
We're working. I will.
But the stream is not working.
Yeah, no. That's
we're
because
not.
I deleted
Lagging
it.
a bit.
I started again. You guys are gonna like die on the screen. Like you won't be there on the stream. I need to add it again.
We'll be there.
But it's
guys.
fine.
We die.
They can hear you. They can hear you. All right.
They can?
Yeah. Because
Can you guys hear us?
yes,
I think it's like 10 seconds delay, by the way.
ask them immediately.
Alright, no one said they can hear us, so.
No, I'm pretty sure they can.
Oh, Nick Quine says he can hear us, so there you go.
I should see how Nick
Okay,
Quine's guiding.
everyone's saying yep. Okay, anyways. In regards to your comparative video, I was wondering about the benefits talked about in the paragraph for grief, as I already talked about human connection relieving grief in the second paragraph. Like the benefits, like why would it be good to talk about grief? Is that what you mean?
I think I had a video on it, but yeah, you try and answer it without my video, I guess. All right, we're back in business.
I don't know. I feel like talking about something that's connected with the previous paragraph is definitely good because you have this sort of like flow in between parts of your essay that can get you some like extra like points. But like, be careful you don't talk about like the exact same thing in like the third paragraph, just in like a different way, because that would basically mean you didn't write a paragraph, and that's not good. So
yeah, all right, I think it's back working.
Yeah, we're back.
Oh, jeez. That took me a while.
Yeah.
Thank you for the 16 people who stuck around.
Yeah.
In regards to your comparative video, benefits to talk about in the third paragraph. Yeah. So with benefits, honestly, in my last paragraph, it's not like the direct benefit. It's not like I'm saying that, we alleviate Achilles' grief or something. It's more so benefit as in like, there's a sense of lightness at the end of both, and you might describe him eating with Achilles. You might describe that Priam heading home with the body of his son. Like it's sort of a calm resolution. But for grief, if you wanted to still use say Achilles's exactly like him feeling better, then I would say change your human connection one. And maybe like don't elaborate too much in that paragraph and elaborate it more in your next paragraph. So don't like milk all of it out too early. Can you get Jay on the stream? Yeah, sure. Like I don't know when he'll be here or what I'll get him in for. Oh, lit, true. But I don't know.
Jay is a busy man.
Is he though?
Busy doing what?
Oh yeah, I suppose.
I don't know. I think he I don't know. He does med, right? And then he also has like a job. Like super busy or whatever. So
okay. Right.
Like I remember like before lockdown we were trying to like get him to like play tennis and like he just couldn't come like a lot of the times. So
yeah.
What do you guys think about doing a university subject in year 12? None of us did one, by the way, but I didn't do one right? Because I thought it was limited. We could only do uni maths, and there's no subject I could swap it with, honestly, in my lineup. So that was my reason.
What kind of uni subjects are offered? Like math, and then what?
But there's lit. I'm pretty sure McNeil.
Uni lit.
McNeil did
Yeah.
uni lit. I'm pretty sure. Uni chem as well.
I know. I didn't even know that there was a uni lit.
Just not at
So-
Scotch. I don't think there's one at Scotch.
I know. I didn't like any of the subjects offered, so I just didn't do it.
Same for you, Alex.
Yeah, I just didn't feel like getting into uni that early. But like, just take the time to do high school.
What? No one's telling you to like get into uni. You're just doing a subject.
Yeah, but like, yeah, but it's meant to count towards a degree you might pursue, and like, I don't know, wouldn't be going there anyway.
Oh, I see. Oh, he knew he wasn't going to Melbourne. He was like, get me out of here.
Oh.
Look at this guy's confidence in getting into med.
Hey,
Look
okay,
at this
mate.
guy's confidence.
Well, I'm curious. Did you apply for interstate, Alex, or not?
No,
Me neither.
man,
That's
I
confidence.
didn't know.
Oh, you didn't know?
I didn't know you could like make that many applications.
What do you mean?
Actually didn't. I'm
What
so
do you mean? you just put on your like VCAR like list. You just put like Monash Med and like nothing else.
Yeah,
The careers guy like this is either gonna go really well, or he's just not gonna.
I put med, like biomed, and science at Monash and med, and then Melbourne.
Yeah. Oh, so do they
I
not care?
legitimately didn't know you could just apply into state.
Right. So with Max, did they just not care about what you put 1 to 8, and you just pick creative writing because you're leaving anyway? Is that how it works? Because you would have put something down, right, for like your first preference.
Yeah. So my first preference was art. I think like Melbourne art because I figured I was going to leave anyways, right? So so first preference was that. So I just wanted to do something random, but I did have like a bunch of like backup plans. Like I also put down like Melbourne commerce, I think, or like Melbourne science, like just like stuff that like I would do if I somehow got rejected from every single school overseas. But yeah, I mean, normally you have some safety options, right? Like in case you like did terribly on like your finals or something. But yeah, so basically like the Australian schools are my safeties, basically.
Oh, that's even
Right.
bolder than me and Alex. The Australians.
Yeah, I know,
You probably
right?
put Monash
In
Med
the
as his
sense
safety.
that
Monash Med
in the
was
sense
his
that it's like
safety.
a guaranteed entry as long as you get the score, and I knew I was going to get like above like the science requirement at least. So
Yeah.
not guaranteed anything overseas. So like having a guaranteed like spot here is pretty good.
Yeah.
But what's the time difference
Ooh.
with University of Chicago and here? And
15 hours, I think.
No, as in okay,
We're like 15 hours ahead.
ahead of us.
Yeah. No. We're 15 hours ahead of them.
Oh, okay.
So they're probably still in the 10th. Probably. Hold on, let me search it up.
No,
CST
they'd
now.
be like 8 a.m., wouldn't they?
Oh no, there will be 8 a.m. Yes. I forgot it was PM. Yes. Good at math, guys.
Oh, so I don't know, it'd be hard for us to do these Zooms in the future. Or these streams. Because I'd be like streaming at 11 and Max is like, I got class in like an hour.
He won't be.
I know I'm hoping to wake up like pretty early on most days, even though I don't have class in the morning or some days.
Are you hoping to
So-
be productive? Like,
You're hoping.
I'm hoping to at least like have like a consistent schedule and not like end up like me in year 12, like sleeping at like 4 a.m. to wake up at 7 a.m. to go to an exam, and then after the exam I come back home and sleep in the afternoon and wake up at like 11 p.m. to do study, and the cycle continues. So yeah, I don't want to end up doing that again. So
yeah, the thing I told you about, like people keeping their doors open. I heard that was like a thing. I saw like a video on it. It's like, because if you keep your doors open, like, I don't know, people walk around like when in the afternoon when they're studying and stuff, and you just pop in and say hi. And apparently if you close your door, like, you're not gonna like meet anyone. Apparently.
It's-
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that's a myth or like an actual thing, but
I mean, you'll probably find
I
out.
know.
You go there, you just look at the doors. Like,
Yeah.
Are they open or
I don't-
closed?
I haven't heard anyone actually say this. So
Oh, okay.
What if they're just in like the common room? What?
why wouldn't they like the common room? Like my dorm is like the newest one, so it's supposed to be good. So
I mean, you have to study. You can only study in the common room. Can you?
yeah, and I figured like just being in your room by yourself, if you're just doing study, then you don't want anyone like disturbing you really. Like in other situations, maybe you can keep it open. Like if you're just gaming or something.
I think the library community is pretty big, isn't it? Like people like going to libraries in
Yeah,
America.
like study groups and yeah. U Chicago's library is like it's like futuristic. It's like they have like a robot that gets the books for you or something. It's kind of insane. Like
Bit all right. Bit
yeah,
extra.
bit over like over the top. But I mean,
Equation, yes, we are still on because we had a special guest join us, and so I mean we can end at like 11:40, 11:35, 11. Okay, we had more questions. 11:35 or 11:40. We'll end it. I think it's been on long enough.
how much were you guys studying each day when doing VCE? Like during like the 3 like terms, I was just doing like homework I was supposed to do, and like before SACs obviously I studied, but like not like I didn't have like a specific time like every day to like put aside to like, oh yeah, I have to like study like this, and then like I'd do it like after I did homework, because I had other like application stuff overseas to worry about anyways, so I wasn't gonna like study for like 2 extra hours every day. But what about you guys?
Oh,
Yeah, I didn't do that much, but like, I think it's just intermittent stuff. It's like when the sack starts rolling around, you study more and more in preparation. That's really it. You want to be like studying maybe from like 4 weeks to 3 weeks to a month away from the sack. When I start like getting ready, like
Yeah, but
1
that's
week
like
before the sack.
every day, because like there's like a million sacks.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? Some sacks were like less sort of stressful, I guess.
Yeah, like the English 10 mark
Like
one
the,
that we did
yeah, the English
worksheet.
10 mark and stuff like that. Yeah.
Wait, Eddie, I'm curious. What do you mean promote my channel in Scotch like Emil? I didn't know Emil was promoting his channel at Scotch. Oh, he does debating. Maybe like I don't know. Yeah. So what does that mean exactly? But yeah. I remember the 10 mark sack. Didn't Tom lose a mark? Did he?
Yeah, he lost a mark because I don't know. He wrote something like, I don't know. It was he wrote something suspicious and he lost a mark. But
Yeah, they like tried to make it like complex. Like I remember my feedback was quite detailed. It was like, you should have considered this, and I was like, just like give me my 10 and like can we just like move on?
Exactly. Everyone got 10s except for like, I don't know, some people got like 9s or something. Like all the people that were supposed to get 10s pretty much got 10s, except for like Tom. Like, but yeah, it was a very easy sack. So I didn't even study for that one. I just winged it. I don't think there was much point in studying for that one, as long as you knew your stuff. But
I think that's
you won't get too many sacks like that. So
I think that sack was like a day before the EPI. I remember I had to like memorize the EPI like that night, and I had to remember like the English one like in a similar time frame from memory.
promote your channel in Scotch. Old Scotch Collegians Association.
Darren doesn't need it, man.
With how much pun?
Darren doesn't need the exposure.
Thank you. I appreciate the sentiment behind that. Studying each day during VC, for me, like, honestly, for me, I was pretty motivated and I wanted to do like really well. Like, I wanted to get like, aggregates. I want to get the highest one in the state, which is a bit absurd now that I think about it. Like, I don't know, it's a bit of a weird goal to have, but because I had good subjects and I could, so I decided I wanted to. And so I would study like when I was able to. So when I wasn't like, if I had a choice, I would pick studying. But like procrastinating, sometimes you feel like you don't have a choice. You just like procrastinate. Like apart from those times, and when I had other stuff on, I would try and make myself study. And I did enjoy it as well, because like English class, Max was in my English and Chem class. Like I enjoyed English. It's quite fun. I enjoyed Chem, because it was just a nice environment in all the classes and the teachers.
Yeah, I had good teachers. We all had good teachers in year 12, pretty much. I think they like tell the good teachers to like tell the good teachers to like do the year 12 subjects. I think that's like the thing. But yeah, our teachers are nice, so we enjoyed doing it. But I don't know, like during like exams period, my study schedule was very like hectic because I was also like writing like overseas essays and stuff. So I was just like to whenever, like pretty much I was like working the whole time. It's not like I got like that much stuff done, but I was still working the whole time. So
wait, Eddie, how did you get what? Can you give me some context behind that? Seems like a bit of a curious thing to do, especially when Emil's channel is on like UCAT. Like
med. Yeah. Did you memorize full paragraphs for English exam, or just memorize ideas and kind of incorporate them? I think it's good to have an idea of what you want to write for like each idea. Like you don't necessarily want to like copy paste like in a paragraph onto like the actual exam. But I think it's a good idea to just have a general idea of like this example you're going to use, and like the sentence structure you can figure out during exam, right? But like just have like an idea of how you're going to flow through each paragraph is good.
I agree. Like, I didn't memorize full paragraphs. I know someone who did, and he didn't do as well as he should have in the end. But I also know people who haven't, and they did really well. But I don't know. It's just like your thing type of thing. I think if you're not like an excellent student, so I'd like to say that Max, Alex, and I are both like pretty good students. We can write on the spot pretty well if you give us an idea. And so we didn't have to memorize a lot. We can get away with memorizing. It was better for us to memorize a lot less because then we could adapt to the topic and still write to a same standard. Whereas if you're like not as strong of a student and you feel a bit insecure in how well your language can be expressed and how well your analysis will be expressed, then like feel free to memorize some good phrases and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think if you memorize like paragraphs, it's kind of like it guarantees you in like a score range that like you're not going to get like tip top, but you'll get like pretty good if you just memorize like a paragraph. Like you'll get like it would probably be like somewhere in like the 40s range, like low 40s. Like if you just memorize all your paragraphs, and they're pretty good. But if you're aiming for higher than that, you definitely should not memorize and try to like adapt to the whatever is in front of you, because that's how you actually write like an actual good essay, and not just like copy and paste.
Yeah, about this, like, this might not be for everyone, but like what I think is like, for me when I write, it's like you get better as you write again and again. So every time I write the same thing, it might be a little bit better. That's what I'm hoping. So it's a bit of a journey. I think this is for literature especially. Every time I wrote another close analysis on the same idea, it was a little bit, I thought it was developing my ideas a little bit more rather than just treading the same territory.
Yeah,
and that's just what makes it new and interesting as well. So that's my opinion. I think you can go far if you memorize stuff, memorizing sentences particularly and expressions, and also progression of ideas and stuff like that. But honestly, spend more time trying to refine those ideas first before you start memorizing them, because yeah, that's pretty important.
I don't know
yeah,
if you.
because like I don't know about English, but like in lit, in the top like mark like 9, if you want to get like 19 or 20 on your essay, there's like a mark for originality. So if you really want to like be really good, you have to come up with like original and insightful stuff like on the spot, because the topic's not going to be exactly the same as what you did for practice. So if you're aiming for like that like 50s or like 45 range, you should definitely practice like writing on the spot.
If you want like a good sentence to memorize, for example, if you were here like 2 hours earlier, you probably would have seen my good sentence on like the scorching heat of like Achilles. I thought that was a good sentence. That I didn't get into the exam, but I think it's a good one. With Eddie. Oh, by the way, do you suggest I do that? I don't know, contact Mr. Brown or something. But I was thinking about talking to the school about like, I don't know, just like VCE stuff and like mental health and stress and stuff. I think I've contacted the school about it, and they've passed on my details to Brown and Rayner, like my private email. But I have not heard back yet. But we'll see. Maybe I will be able to speak at Scotch about stuff, which would be nice.
To the point where you were pretty strong at writing on the spot like that. I don't know. I think it's just definitely a lot of practice. Like we all wrote like me and Alex and like Darren, like we all like we get essays throughout the year to write, like whether we're typing it or handwriting it, and basically every time we tried our hardest to make it good. So
yeah, legit. Like each time you write an essay, that's like studying. That's like you getting better. You put your whole effort into it, and also I guess it's sort of a history thing. Like from kids, we'd probably all write pretty like a lot, like sort of a history. Also for me, what helped me write on the spot is that like what I think in my head, like I got really logical in year 12, so I was able to explain things really well. And whatever I thought in my head, I just write, and it'd be like pretty fine. Like it'd be understandable with a couple good words in it, which is enough. I don't know about you guys. Like when you write, do you think like out loud, or do you write what you think, or do you have to like change stuff, or how does it work for you guys?
We find the good sentences. I try to find the good sentences. So like if something just comes up, like, oh, it's a good starter. That's what gets me started.
Yeah, I think it's just
and after that, it's pretty easy.
Yeah, for a lot of us, it's just getting started.
On writing to the point. Look, I think there's something who said there about like, you have to, if you're strong at writing and can write a lot, you got to like cut down a lot. as well. So things like if you don't need this word, you need to cut it out, or try to find the best word that sort of pretty much copies the topic. Like you have to find the word that answers the question of the topic. So I think with writing, I'm trying to answer the question every time. So I ask a question of myself and I try to explain it with my writing. It's like, what question does this answer? Like, it could be like, well, if grief is something like this, then what are we supposed to do about it? Well, my answer is this. So every essay I have is like me giving my answers for whatever this essay topic is.
Yeah, I think both Darren and Alex are far more organized writers than I am. So I know. I think my main problem was I didn't have enough confidence in like coming up with stuff on the spot, especially earlier in the year. Like I remember like the first parent teacher interview, like after like the creative stack, because you know how the creative stack was like a take home task, and then like you had to like write like a statement of intention in 45 minutes. That was for the tutor, by the way. And it's basically like I got like full marks for my creative, and then like in my statement of intention I got like 80% because
that was you.
Yeah, I got 48 right, and I got like because I didn't write enough. So like a big problem for me was like being confident enough in my writing that I could just go on spews and like be confident that whatever I'm writing, like it might not be perfect because it's under time conditions, but it's good enough to like get a good score because that's really what VC is about, right? So yeah. Also for like essay vocab, like if you mean like general vocab, like how you want to like put stuff, like I don't know, just read more. Like I feel like my vocab got good just from like reading a lot. So if you're talking about specific like essay vocab, like I don't know, in your books or something, then maybe you might try to memorize like from like what you're studying. But if you're just talking about like general words, then just read more, like anything.
Essay vocab, steal the samples, man. Go read the samples, read your friends' samples, read the good students' samples or the teachers' samples, highlight stuff, steal them.
I think particularly in year
It's not
12,
stealing.
in year 11, year 12, you don't have like a massive amount of time to like read too much and to gain vocab from that. And especially because you don't know whether the vocab will be directed. Like reading is a good lifetime thing and it helped my vocab a lot when I was younger. But I think in year 12 specifically, like Alex said, reading a lot of good examples. And as you write essays, try and find better alternatives for words. And you'll expand your vocabulary. Like now, because I did Women of Troy, I know a lot of vocabulary about like sad stuff. Like just like despondent or like just everything that's sad. Like because the whole play is depressing and you need different words to capture that. So yeah.
Mate, you got to remember my soundscape contribution to the class.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw Alex's essay, but he had an oral. He didn't say oral soundscape. I think he just said oral landscape. But he mentioned that in his
Same thing.
Oh, landscape, 3 syllables versus 2.
I think Miss Couch's like most enjoyable moments were 1, your oral soundscape, and 2, your description of Connie and the piano, the music.
Oh, was that the creative thing?
Yeah,
Yeah,
she was like dancing.
I was
with the
pretty
broom.
happy about whatever.
She was like dancing with the broom or something, wasn't it? Like, she
Oh,
imagined
yes.
Jack. Yeah.
That's the one to remember.
The English creative was questionable, but the lit creative was fun, definitely. Best website for study score and ATAR calculator prediction. Listen, I think these things are like not really that useful.
Agreed.
Like, you like all of them are pretty much going to give you the same score if you put in the same thing. So, but you never know what you're actually going to get because it all depends on the day performance on your exam. So, don't worry about it too much. Just do the best you can.
Yeah, so legit, my opinion, and I've passed this on to my students as well, do ATAR calculator once at the start of the year. And that's it. Like, you sort of have a guess of what you're going to get. Throughout the year, just work hard and see what you get in the end. And study score calculator, where there's a thing where you insert like your SAC percentages and then they tell you your study score. I think that's like the most like extra thing I've heard in a very long time.
Isn't that kind of BS? Because like different schools have different like scaling and like cohorts, so it doesn't like actually do anything. So yeah, don't trust these things.
Oh, some people when they get the ATAR, I saw a couple ATAR reaction videos. They like when they see their study scores, they don't click view ATAR. They like put it into an ATAR calculator first, and then they click view ATAR.
Oh,
like they compare it to like the calculated thing versus the real thing.
Yeah. How did you guys view your ATAR? How was it for you guys?
Do you have like specific scores?
On the website.
Like your feelings
Or like,
and like, did you check the email, your feelings, that kind of thing?
yeah, I think I could have done better, obviously, but at that point I didn't really care about it anyways because I already got into my uni overseas. So I definitely could have done better, but part of that was just because I was also juggling like overseas applications. But yeah, I mean, I was okay with it. It wasn't like terrible. I got like 98.85. So
Yeah.
yeah, but I could have. I was aiming for like above 99, but at that point it didn't matter so much. So
Did you wake up at 7 then to see it, or did you not care? You just like woke up.
no, I woke up at like 10:30, and then like I missed like
right. You were the late
I missed
one.
like 5 calls from Tom Ann.
Yeah.
It was like, and he texted me. He was like, hey, tell scores. I was like, first thing I did, I texted back. I was like, I don't care. And then I checked it. So.
What about for you, Alex? What were you hoping for in your heart of hearts?
Yeah, I was. I knew the 8.5 was coming. Basically, I was like, yeah, no chancellors for me. Anyway. Nah, because I was like, man, special's rough. So, yeah, I had pretty much a bit of an expectation of what I was gonna get. Hoping beyond hopes, but not much to say there. I got up at 7 and just like looked. I think the email was the first one.
Oh, you looked at the email? Did you
Let's
look at the
go. I saw these first, and I was like, oh, let's go.
Yeah, I looked at my email as well. I didn't even know like, oh yeah, there was like a link to the website, but since the email was already there, I just looked at that. So. Oh wait, I think we missed the question. Handwritten or typed notes for any subjects? For like English and like heavy on writing subjects, I would suggest you handwrite as much as possible. But for like chem or like math, it doesn't really matter that much as long as you get the notes down.
Yeah, I'd suggest typing like everything basically, and I like most things typing. Typing should be default. I think handwrite specific stuff. Like if there's a certain concept you don't understand, then maybe explain it using handwriting. And like practice essays, I always type them unless they were timed. If they were timed, I'd handwrite them. Usually, yeah.
Yeah, like if you're like the hardest work in the world, you would handwrite your essays. But I think it's also like the return on investment is not that high.
Yeah.
Like you just handwrite everything. Like for practice essays, I think I don't know. Like all your notes, I feel like all my notes in English were pretty much handwritten, but like practice essays, I definitely type like almost all of them because I think it's just easier to edit. And at that point, like if you're still doing like practice essays and you're typing them, what you need to do is like make them as good as possible. So you want to be able to edit quickly. You want to be able to put notes down on like Google Docs or something. So it's really like before SAC or like before the exam where handwriting becomes actually important, where you want to like start handwriting stuff and not care about like making an essay perfect.
Yeah. Especially if you're writing for 2 subjects or more.
English and Lit gang.
English and English.
Has anyone done the
You're
trip?
doing like history or humanities stuff and be like, oh, so much writing.
History essays aren't that hard. So.
Sure.
I feel like I dogged the lit department. Like they were like, do lit. I was like, no. But I'm like, even further, I will do laying. And then they're like, like spiteful. Yeah.
Hey, you tell Mr. Martin you're doing laying, he'll like spontaneously combust. It's like.
Yeah. Did you see his video to Privy?
What video?
Oh, bro, you need to catch up. Like he sent I think Mark told him that Privy was going to America, and Martin sent an email and sent a video, and it was very, very heartwarming.
Yeah, you should request them too, Max.
No, we had email back and forth. He didn't send me a video, but that was like ages ago because I told him ages ago. So
Well, request one now because the time is coming.
I'll send him an email before I leave. Okay, I'll send him.
Send
Martin
me a
was a very
message
epic
on-
teacher.
Oh, you don't have Messenger, do you?
I do have Messenger. I don't use it that much though.
Just message him. Yes.
I have his like
active on
private
Facebook,
email because like I was like
He's
helping
active.
with like the creative SAC at the school like early in the year. So I have his like private email. But
You were helping with the
Damn, you
creative
guys
side.
got the help.
yeah. Like because the creative SAC was the one I did well on. So I did well on all the lit SACs, but like the creative one was like probably my best one.
Wow.
Like in terms of like actual content in the writing. So I was like, hey, I'm free like whenever, and he was like, do you want to like just have like 15-minute sessions with like students who are interested and like just help them like refine their writing and tell them like what they're doing, and then yeah, I did that. So
Oh, that's pretty cool.
No, it's nice.
Bloody Johnston not calling me up.
Nah, you had to offer. You had to offer.
Yeah.
They're not gonna like tell you to do it.
I heard
And
the
like
English creative was
it was
rough.
like, do you want any like compensation? I was like, tips. Like, what are you gonna get me that I really want? It's like,
I heard the English creative was really bad.
really? Like this
Because
year?
there's Wordsworth poetry.
Oh,
Did they do a poetry one?
No, they're like reviewing poetry.
No. Poetry is only good for analysis. Don't do creative poetry.
What? You suck, Max.
Alexander
That's some
poetry.
poetry,
writer.
mate. That's some poetry.
I've written poetry before, but I just feel like I don't enjoy it as much as like just creative writing. So Wordsworth.
Yeah, I heard.
Is that the word? Oh, William Wordsworth, English poet. Is that the guy?
that is the guy. What are your friends studying? Wordsworth. Oh yeah, Eddie's rank 1 English apparently. So if he can give us some insight.
Oh, congrats, man.
That's OP.
Asian Aussie, same as us three, apart from Max, I guess. But what are your Scotch friends studying at uni at the moment? So me and Alex and I are doing medicine. Max is, I don't think it's called like studying, like it's not a specific thing, but he's like doing undergrad at University of Chicago soon.
Yeah, in like 2 weeks and a half, it'll start soon.
Oh wait, so how long, when you get there, after how many days do you start uni?
There's an orientation week, and then the classes start like the next week.
Oh.
But yeah, all the friends I know, they're either doing science or med. So
True.
Starting
It's like
afresh.
science time, yeah.
I don't actually know anyone that's
Commerce.
doing commerce. Who's doing commerce?
What's everyone, mate?
Who? I don't know anyone that's doing commerce.
I know Sam Zong is actually.
Sam Zong's doing commerce?
Yeah.
Yeah, I always pin him as a science guy, but it's not.
He wants to be a lawyer.
Alright,
Nods.
Alright, I think I'll end the stream like in like, I don't know, half a minute.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for
You're
joining.
late.
The 20 plus people who are still watching. Like I don't know if you really enjoyed our chat. But yeah, this is basically the English game, missing Tom Ann, and I really enjoyed chatting with you guys, and thank you guys for joining.
Right, thank you for letting us come on. Especially Max.
Thanks for listening, especially me, special guest.
Yeah? Special was... Oh my god.
No worries. I'll end the stream now. Thank you guys for tuning in.
See you.